Hi everybody, welcome to SUNYA IAS. In case if you're able to hear me and you can see the slides, just let me know in the comment section. In the meanwhile, I'm just waiting for other students also to join in. I hope the slides are visible for you, right? How many of you had attempted the paper, all the 100 questions, and how did you find the paper? Are other people also able to hear me? In case somebody is not able to hear, you can just refresh, okay? Because I think there is no problem from my end. Slides are visible, voice is clear, excellent. Can other people also comment the same, whether the slides are visible for you? All right. We will be discussing in this session all the 100 very important questions related to environment, okay? And the time you spend here in these 3 odd hours, this will be very beneficial. Okay, some of you were not able to look at it, no problem. We will be solving these questions alongside, so that would also solve your problem. Okay, the questions were very good, Ayush, thank you. I hope other people also learn from these sessions. Okay, so before we just begin, I'll just want to tell you there are 1 or 2 programs which I wanted to tell you. So in case those of you who have problem in environment, SUNYA IAS is coming up with this ruthless rapid revision program for environment. The idea is to cover the entire syllabus of environment, the static and the current affairs part of it in just 2 days, okay? The dates are 22nd and 23rd April. So those of you who want to quickly revise this topic in just 2 days, all the important current affairs, all the important static areas for environment, can join and they can inquire. There are only 500 seats here, so please make sure if you want to join it, you enroll it in first come first serve basis, right? So this is one. And second thing is this all India mock test. Now with barely 45 days to go for your exam, now is a good time. For example, today was also Sunday, so you should try from next Sunday onwards. Every Sunday should be just like a UPSC day for you, okay? So in the same manner, what we have done, GS1 paper you will give, exact timings 9:30 to 10:30 AM, and then CSAT paper as well in the same timing from 2:30 to 4:30 exactly. On the lines of UPSC the paper is going to be set, and the date is 30th April. This is the 4th all India mock test. So I think many of you would be now done with the basic study and you want to test yourself, where do you lie at the all India level. This is where you can go forward, okay? Vinu will be providing the answer key the moment that after the discussion is done. This was done deliberately, okay, so that you guys first attempt the paper, you make mistakes, you listen to the discussion, you understand a lot of things, okay, and then that should be a good takeaway. Otherwise, let's say if I directly give you the answer key, sometimes many students don't even solve, okay? So that also helps, okay? So now I'm going to begin. I think most of the people are ready, okay? Ashwin, I think you can just increase, you can try to maybe use a headphone or try to increase your voice, because I think audio quality here from my end, I think it is fine, okay? Is it very low for every other people as well, the voice, or is it good for? Okay, now we'll start question. Increase the volume, okay, just a second. ये वॉल्यूम इंक्रीज हो सकती है, पूछ रहा हूँ, कैन द वॉल्यूम बी इंक्रीज? Okay, so I think some adjustment has been made. You can just try to increase the respective volumes at your phones, and instead of listening it from the speaker, you can just plug in an earphone. That would be better, okay? So now I'll start. Very important question. Indian State Forest Report of 2021, okay? Before we begin, just wanted to tell you that this forest report comes out in every 2 years. This is published by Forest Survey of India. Now this question tries to ask you at least 4 different things in one question, okay? So there are some factual elements also, some basic definitions also, okay? So here we'll try to understand it. Now, number one, in this 17th edition of the report, which is in 2021, okay, what was India's forest and tree cover? Okay, so India's forest and tree cover was 24.62%, and we had seen an increase if I compare this with the 2019. Okay, the next report is scheduled to come out in 2023. Okay, but this will be after your exam, that will take some time. So we should be understanding the trends related to the forest report of 2021. That is one thing we should be knowing about. Okay, so forest and tree cover so far is 24.62%. It has increased when compared to 2019 report. Okay, first, Andhra Pradesh has shown the highest increase in forest cover. Okay, this part is true. The highest increase is shown in Andhra Pradesh. Now, a term is being asked, what is a forest cover? And again, a definition or curiosity should be in your mind. What is a forest? Because I use the term forest and tree. Okay, so forest cover as defined by Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change, there have to be two conditions which have to be fulfilled. Okay, number one condition is lands having an area more than 1 hectare. So more than 1 hectare. And the second condition is that the canopy density should be greater than 10%. Canopy density should be greater than 2%. These two conditions have to be fulfilled for an area to be recognized as a forest. Okay, and on canopy density, I still want to tell you there are further classifications. So if the canopy density, okay, is greater than 70% or more, we call that as very dense forest. From 40 to 70%, we call it moderately dense forest. Okay, and then from 40, between 10% to 40% is known as an open forest. Okay, and then these are degraded lands with less than 10% that are known as scrubs. And of course, if the land etc. is not being classified into these regions, that is known as a non-forest. Alright, so first of all, we need to understand that the division of forest is based on two parameters. One is area and the second is canopy density. Okay, so basically both the two statements here mentioned are correct. The tree canopy density is greater than 10% and the area is more than 1 hectare. Both of them are correct. Third statement, India has around 500 square kilometers of mangrove cover. Okay, in this very test we have good questions on mangrove, testing you on the static component of mangroves as well. But this is a current affair aspect wherein the report is telling you what is the cover. So this is also true. But more importantly, you should know whether from 2019 to 2021, whether the cover has increased or decreased. Okay, so there has been an increase in the mangrove cover. Okay, around 17 square kilometers increase is there. So even this is true. And the maximum increase has been seen in Odisha. Okay, now can you tell me in India which is the region which has the highest mangrove? Okay, which is the region in India having the highest mangroves cover? Okay, overall increase I have told you as per the report, but overall which is the region? It's a very famous region, you guys read about it. Okay, so which is the region which has the highest? Just waiting for your answers. Okay, Abhishek is saying Sundarbans. Anybody else? So the answer is actually correct. It is Sundarbans which is having the highest percentage of mangroves overall, right? And the last thing is carbon stock for this is 7.2 billion tons. Okay, so even first of all the carbon stock also has increased. So you also are aware, for example, when I talk of forests, okay, these forests because of photosynthesis etc., they also carry out the process of carbon sequestration. Okay, so overall when we are saying that the carbon stock, so yes, overall the carbon stock is 7.2 billion tons. Okay, so in this statement all the four statements are correct. Okay, so this is asking you various details about this. Okay, and those of you who want to do this in more detail can also see this particular lecture of this report in the prelims crash course as well. I've covered it state by state in a lot of detail. All right, So for question number 1, the answer is D. All the 4 statements are correct. Okay. Moving on, we now go to another very important topic, tiger census. Okay. You guys would be also aware that the Project Tiger has completed 50 years. And the recent tiger census of 2022 also is out. Okay. How many of you have followed this news? So now we'll see. There are 4 statements, and please be very sure the question is asking you which is incorrect. Alright. First statement, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka and Uttarakhand alone account for more than half of the tigers in India. This part is actually true. Okay. In fact, if we go to the tiger census of 2018, maximum tigers were in Madhya Pradesh, followed by Karnataka. Okay. So if you combine Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka and Uttarakhand, this alone accounts for more than half of the tigers in India. True. Okay. Abhishek, I think I told you the first answer was D. All the 4 statements were correct. Okay. Now question number 2, we are discussing which of the following is incorrect. First statement is correct. Second, pug mark census technique is the most commonly used method for carrying out the census. This is also true, that based on the different pug marks, we are able to estimate the number of population. So this part is true. Then DNA fingerprinting is the most accurate method for carrying out the census. This is also true. Last point, the tiger census is carried out in every 2 years. Tell me whether this is right. By Wildlife Institute of India and NTCA. This census is carried out in every 4 years. Okay, which is why I'll also show you the trend now. So 2006 to 2022 overall we are seeing an increase. Every 4 years this census has been carried out. Again, this census is carried out by who? So there is National Tiger Conservation Authority, NTCA, and Wildlife Institute of India. Okay. So the question I was asking you, what is incorrect? So here again, question number 2, the answer is D. The tiger census, this part is incorrect. Okay. Right? Everybody is following this? Now, we go to question number 3. Which of the following marine environment species are primarily herbivorous? Okay. And a similar question had already been asked by UPSC. I'll also tell you how. Maybe some of you are aware of these things. Manatee. How many of you actually know what is manatee? Okay. If I show you the image, you'll definitely be able to say what is manatee. One is manatee, sea cucumber, green turtles, marine iguana, and queen parrotfish. Okay. In these type of questions, 5 things are being asked from you. Okay. You have to be very smart. If you are able to eliminate anything, that should probably give your answer. Alright. So this is basically manatee. You can also think of dugong, which is also manatee species. Dugong is a sea cow, okay, which is a marine herbivore. Okay. So manatee should be in the answer. Whereas, what is a sea cucumber? It is a detritus feeding invertebrate. Okay. So sea cucumber is not a primary herbivore. Okay. So if you eliminate 2 from your answers, right, then you are left with manatee, green turtle, marine iguana, queen parrotfish, right? And for this, I've also shared the image. This is how the sea cucumber looks like. It is a bottom dwelling organism. Okay. So here, basically, yeah, I think some of you are telling sea cows, yes. So the question on dugong was already asked. So manatee, you can think that with dugong, right? So here, eliminate 2, you get your answer. The answer is 1, 2, 4 and 5. Okay. So for questions like these, a mix of your knowledge and elimination should do the trick for you. Okay. Because the question, by the way, try to just have a look at these species. Maybe one of these species gets directly repeated in your exam. Okay. So UPSC has this habit of asking you what is phytoplanktons, what is zooplanktons, etc., etc. Right? Now this is a relatively straightforward question. The question is on London Convention. Okay. One of the first steps to take responsibility for harms done to the ocean refers to, and 4 statements are given to you. Okay. These kind of questions, if you know it, it's best. Otherwise, there is only a 1/4 probability of marking it. Okay. So how many of you marked this question correct? London Convention, what is that related to? And by the way, in these questions itself, can you tell me what is International Convention for Prevention of Pollution from Ships? Okay, I think somebody. Okay, iguanas are lizards. Okay, that is a good point, and they rarely eat plants. That is also fine. Yeah. See, London Convention, the answer is prevention of marine pollution by dumping of wastes and other matter. This is London Convention. But this question also tells you about one more convention. Statement number A, Convention from Pollution, Prevention of Pollution from Ships. So you can just write down in your notes or perhaps in your PDF, etc. This is the Marpole Convention. Okay. Okay, one or two people are asking where can you get the PDF? PDF you can get from SUNYA IAS Telegram channel. This PDF has been shared. Just quickly get that and side by side follow along. In case you do not have the PDF, we are solving these questions one by one as well. Okay. So prevention on pollution of control from ships. This is related to Marpole Convention. All right. And actually this London Convention was prevention of marine pollution by dumping. Okay. Marine pollution, plastic pollution in general is known. You might have heard of terms like microbeads, microplastics, right? A lot of dumping of these wastes happen, and because of the dumping of the waste, the aquatic and the marine organisms, okay, when they ingest it, they die after a point of time. So this is a serious concern. Okay. Question number 3, the answer is D. Please make sure you are alert also in the session. I am again and again telling the answer for every question. For question number 3, the answer is D. Okay. For question number 4 also, the answer is D. All right. So this is what the London Convention is basically related to. Okay. Regulating the dumping at sea. All right. Now, we have question number 5, right? Now this is related to ozone depletion. Okay, so it's a 3-statement question. So we'll see this one by one. All right. So ozone depleting substances release halogen atoms through photo dissociation process. One by one we'll see. Now, when we talk of ozone depletion, basically, right? You know that ozone, the good ozone, is present in the stratosphere. Okay. This ozone is depleted by ozone depleting substances like chlorine related compounds like chlorofluorocarbons, bromine related compounds, or halons. Okay. And this happens through this availability of sunlight as well, and the maximum disintegration happens in the Antarctica. All right. So statement 1 basically here is right. Okay. Now second statement basically tries to see whether any part of chlorine which is present, is it going to contribute to ozone layer depletion. So chlorine from swimming pool, etc., and sea salt does not contribute to ozone layer depletion. Primarily when we say, we talk of chlorofluorocarbons. Okay, this has a chlorine atoms which disintegrates ozone. You also have hydrochlorofluorocarbons. Okay. So not every chlorine which is present will lead to ozone layer depletion. That is also the second statement tries to ask. So statement 2 is wrong. Then the role of sunlight in ozone depletion is the reason why the Antarctic ozone depletion is the greatest during spring. I told you, yes, this sunlight plays an important role because of photo dissociation, right? Chlorine radicals in the presence of sunlight, especially in this region, help to disintegrate ozone more, right? So here the answer is C. 1 and 3 is correct. Now I just want to ask you, which is the convention, okay, which is the convention which talks about regulating these ozone depleting substances? Okay, quickly just let me know in the chat which is the convention. Okay, because ozone depletion is a very important topic, right? Right, this is what I was explaining to you. Okay, very good, Dikhya Datta. Vienna, Montreal and Kigali, we have mentioned all the important conventions. Excellent. So yes, this was what we have talking. The CFCs are releasing these compounds. Okay, they go up to the stratosphere, and here the ozone layer is broken down. Okay, the breakdown of ozone layer happens, which is why the harmful UV radiations from the sun are able to get inside, right? And this image also should help you. This is sun, right? This also takes an important role in the photo dissociation. Okay, right? And this image also tells you where, for example, CFCs were mostly used in refrigerants, okay, in AC, fridge, and also in these fire extinguishers, right? So that is that. Now, next question. These kind of questions have already been asked by UPSC. Which of the following has been constituted under Environment Protection Act of 1986? Okay, which of the following has been constituted under the Environment Protection Act of 1986? Right? I will tell you that this actually is this National Ganga River Basin Authority. This has been created by Environment Protection Act of 1986. National Green Tribunal was created under the NGT Act of 2010. Okay, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, which is under Ministry of Power, is created under Energy Conservation Act of 2001, right? So Environment Protection Act creates National Ganga River Basin Authority. Now, if you have followed my high yielding topics lecture and also the crash course, I've also told you two more bodies which are created under Environment Protection Act of 1986. Can you tell me what is that? So one, I think some of you are getting confused here. The first body is Central Groundwater Authority, CGWA. And the second, yes, Central Groundwater, right? And the second body created is GEAC, Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee. Okay, both these bodies I've told you, that is Central Groundwater Authority, which is different from Central Water Commission. Please make sure you don't get confused between these two bodies. Okay, Central Water Commission is different, whereas, right, Kaushal Excellent, Kaushal is also outlined. No, National Coastal Zone Management Authority. Okay, even this part is true, right? So in your notes now, please add NGRB, this RBA, Central Groundwater Authority, Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, and National Coastal Zone Management Authority with respect to Environment Protection Act. Okay, so the answer for question number 6 is B. Okay, next question. If you want to see the Indus River dolphin in their natural best habitat, which of the following is the best place to visit? Okay, so here 4 options are mentioned. Okay, Indus River dolphin, if you have the basic knowledge of geography, see, you know about Indus River dolphin and you also know about Gangetic River dolphin, right? So what did you mark here in this question? Indus River dolphin. This is a straightforward question. Okay, yes, the answer is correct. The answer is D, Bias Conservation Reserve. Okay, that is related to Indus water dolphin. So if you have just basic idea, then you would know. By the way, Shalbug and Haigem wetland conservation reserves were recently declared as wetlands. Okay, so can you tell me where were they declared as wetlands? Shalbug and Haigem. Yes, for question number 7, the answer is D, but I'm just asking you about Haigem. And again, please make it a habit that you read about other options as well. Okay, for example, where is Nangal Wildlife Sanctuary? Where is Suinsar Mansar? Suinsar Mansar is all. Okay, yeah, Dikhya, you are correct. Jammu Kashmir. Okay, good. Haigem and Shalbug are there in Jammu and Kashmir. So please make sure you know the basic important things also. Okay, so not just should you know the correct answer, but you should also know the other options associated. Okay, this is the Indus River dolphin, and you can also understand the distribution of Indus River dolphin. And then you have the Gangetic River dolphin. Can you tell me what is the national aquatic animal of India? What is the national aquatic animal of India? Okay, and till the time you answer this, next go to the next question now. Now this is a good way of asking you and just testing you how well do you know your biosphere reserves. Okay, so it's a 4-statement question, right? In this you have to actually figure out which is the biosphere reserve we are talking about. Okay, so here natural vegetation is from dry scrub to evergreen forest and swamps. Okay, second, flowering plants of these genus is exclusively endemic to this region. Yes, very good. People are asking Gangetic answer, this Gangetic river dolphin. Yeah, that is correct. Okay, yes, that is correct. So again, let's come back to this question. There has been a drastic decline in the tropical montane forests and grasslands. Okay, and there has been water scarcity here. But I think this part is a very good giveaway. Sigur Plateau, okay, which is a proposed area for vulture conservation. We also have questions on vulture conservation in this test. Okay, is located here. So you have 4 different clues as to arrive to your answer. Nilgiri, Agastyamalai, Sheshachalam, and Gulf of Mannar. Okay, so here if you actually look into these points and if you followed, by the way, I'm telling you, you have 18 biosphere reserves, right? So please make a table state wise or the area wise and some important attributes. Those of you who have already taken the SUNYA static notes, this proper table etc is given with all the relevant details in this part, right? So that can be useful, and let's say if you don't have it right now, you can just order it, or let's say you can do that by yourself. So write down the name of the biosphere reserve, the area, and the important flora and fauna. Okay, so here we are basically talking about a very important Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. And why are biosphere reserves very important? Okay, because see, biosphere reserves are areas which, like, there are high areas within which you can find national parks, you can even find wetlands. Okay, you can find wildlife sanctuaries within it, tiger reserves as well. So few years back UPSC asked you which of the following protected areas are under Agastyamalai Biosphere Reserve. Okay, now they can just ask you which of the following areas are under Nilgiri. So in Nilgiri you have very important areas, right? So even that part you should properly cover. So right from Bandipur, right, Wayanad, Mudumalai. By the way, those of you who have been following our recent initiatives, we have covered Mudumalai in good detail, specifically in the Elephant Whisperers documentary. This part was covered. So this area of Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve is overall very important for you to understand, and based on these clues, okay, you can arrive at this. So Sigur Plateau is one. There has been a drastic decline in the tropical mountain forests, etc. You also find Shola grasslands related close by. Okay, so that is there. Now can you tell me where do you find Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve? Okay, because I think Agastyamalai and Sheshachalam maybe you know. Where is this Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve? Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve. Let's see how many of you know this. Okay, now coming to the next question. Okay, so here 2 terms are mentioned, very important terms. One term is core or critical tiger habitat. Second is critical wildlife habitat. Okay, the question basically asks you these terms are defined in which act. So 2 terms. Okay, and then the question is on the largest tiger reserve in India in terms of total area. Okay, so can you tell me which is the largest tiger reserve in terms of total area? This is a relatively easier question. Statement number 3. So let's see. The phrase critical tiger habitat is mentioned in Wildlife Protection Act as well as FRA 2006. No, this term critical or the core tiger habitat is mentioned in Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, which makes this wrong. Second, the phrase critical wildlife habitat is defined only in the Scheduled Tribes and the Forest Rights Act of 2006 and not in Wildlife Protection Act. This is exactly correct. Okay, so in your notes or in your acts related notes, this is a finer detail that you should know, that core or critical tiger habitat is mentioned only in the Wildlife Protection Act, number 1, and Critical wildlife habitat. Okay, these terms are very similar. Tiger, think of Wildlife Protection Act. Wildlife, here you have to think of Forest Rights Act. Okay, and both of them I've covered these acts in the high yielding topic series. Okay, in the act section. In case those of you who want to do this in more detail, please do that. Okay, so question number 1 is wrong. Question number 2 is statement number 2 is correct. Third, yes, many of you have got the answer correct. Nagarjun Sagar Sri Sailam Tiger Reserve is the largest tiger reserve in terms of total area. Okay, so here the answer is Nagarjun Sagar Sri Sailam Tiger Reserve, right? So this is also wrong. So question number 9, I think many of you would have got this correct. The answer is C, 2 only. Question number 9. All right. Moving on now. This is the critical wildlife habitat. Okay, this is the basic point you should know. And if you want to see more factual details, so there is a section particular in the Wildlife Protection Act which explains the core or the critical tiger habitat. This is what we have been discussing. So this is a very fine detail. So maybe this can also be asked, right? Moving on. Now question number 10 is based on energy and specifically renewable energy. Okay. The question is asking you, you have to arrange, and in these questions please check if it is asking you ascending or descending order. Okay. In question number 10, right? Wind, small hydro, solar and biopower, right? So here the maximum renewable overall is solar maximum, so it has to be at the last, followed by wind, followed by biopower and followed by small hydro. And you can also say in ascending terms, we start with the small hydro power projects. Okay, this is in terms of the installed capacity. All right, so here the answer is for question number 10, C, the installed capacity overall. The lowest is in terms of small hydro, then biopower, then wind and then solar, right? So for question number 10, the answer becomes C. Now this is a good question to improve your understanding on these wetland ecosystems. Very first statement, these are transitional zones between terrestrial and aquatic systems. Terrestrial and aquatic, yes, this is true, which is why we call these as ecotones, right? Transitional zones between terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems, right? So these are, let's say, your wetlands. You have terrestrial part, land based, and the aquatic part, right? So this terrestrial and the aquatic part is known as the wetland. Okay, the junction here, this is the zone of junction or the zone of tension, defined properly when we talk of ecotones. Okay, now wetlands have much lower ecological productivity as compared to lakes. Okay, actually if you know, these wetlands are very rich in nutrients. Okay, they have a lot of biodiversity. So shouldn't this be the opposite? Okay, that overall the wetlands have far greater ecological productivity as compared to lakes. So statement 2 becomes wrong. You can eliminate statement number 2. Then state governments alone can give permission to carry out any, okay, prohibited activity in the notified areas. Now this thing cannot be happening alone here, right? The permission etc. for this can only be given by this Ministry of Environment. And if you read the recent conservation rules of 2017, this was the basic update or amendment which was done. So state government alone cannot make these unilateral changes. That is wrong. Okay, then there is a far greater number of coastal wetlands than inland wetlands. So of course, you know, you have inland wetlands, okay, in the deep interior parts of the country, whereas you also have coastal wetlands. Okay, so question 11 basically asks you what is the correct part. So actually we have far greater inland wetlands as compared to coastal wetlands. Okay, so even this is wrong. So the answer becomes A, 1 only. Now we have been discussing so many things about wetlands. Can you tell me right now, how many wetlands do you have in India? How many wetlands do we have in India right now? Okay, so this is a good question on wetlands that I hope should aid your understanding. Okay. Okay, Dikhya, very good. 75. Other people, I just want to see how many wetlands overall. All right. Now, straightforward question. If you know this term, excellent. This is torrefaction. So let's say if you have read about biomass, biofuels, or perhaps if you have read about solutions to stubble burning, you might have stumbled across this term torrefaction. Okay. So what is torrefaction? That here it is used basically to produce high grade solid biofuels, right, from woody biomass or agri residues. I'll just show you what the process is. So let's say you have biomass. Okay. In biomass, you will have some water content, some moisture. Okay. Now, if you directly burn this biomass, what will happen? A lot of smoke particles will be released. Calorific value will be less. Isn't that a problem? Yes, that's a problem, right? So to at least solve this problem, what you do, you first of all dry it. So excess water and moisture is taken, is removed, number one. Second is that if you heat it, torrefaction is basically heating at higher or let's say elevated temperatures. Okay. So what happens? Number one, this becomes more compact. Okay. Excess of these, let's say, water, moisture impurities are removed. So when you now burn it, it is better. Okay. It will burn better, lesser smoke emissions. Okay. So this is torrefaction. We read about this in stubble burning. And again, how can you better manage the biomass? Okay, so for question number 12, you can just write down that the answer here is, what is torrefaction? So yes, this is a thermal process to produce high grade solid biofuels from these woody biomass and agri residues. Okay, this is torrefaction. Okay, moving on. Again, this is a very important topic, types of hydrogen. Okay, gray hydrogen is there, green hydrogen is there, and blue hydrogen is there. So first of all, let's see how are these produced. So you have gray hydrogen, right? Source here is natural gas. So you form this in this part. Then there is this blue hydrogen. Okay. Now in blue hydrogen, why is this called blue? There is some element of carbon capture. Okay. And green hydrogen is the best form, at least in environmental sense. This will have the least amount of emissions. Okay. So you will take it from renewable energy related sources, and you have a process known as electrolysis here. Okay. So now let us see the questions. Gray hydrogen constitutes India's bulk production, so maximum production, and extracted from hydrocarbons. Yes, which is why in gray hydrogen you have a lot of emissions, and that is the bulk part of it, right? This is true. Green hydrogen is generated from renewable, true. Includes byproducts like water and water vapor. This is true. Blue hydrogen is sourced from fossil fuels, okay, but projects are captured and stored. This is what I told you, carbon capture etc. is happening in case of blue hydrogen, right? So here in this, all the three statements are correct. So question number 13, the answer is going to be D, right? The answer is D for this. Pratiksha, even when you use your headphones, even then is it less? Because I've been told by some people that the volume or the audio is fine. Okay, next question now. The question is related to Project Tiger. Okay, now here we'll see two things. Number one, we know that the Project Tiger basically, of course, launched in the year 1973, and it has completed. So this has completed basically 50 years. Okay, this is why the Project Tiger is basically in the news. All right. So two statements again we'll see. Project Tiger is being implemented in more than 20 Indian states. Now this is not correct. So number of states which are present are around 18, so it is not more than 20, so this is wrong. Second, as per the 2018 tiger census, Karnataka has the highest number of tiger population. Now this is also wrong. As per the 2018 census, it was Madhya Pradesh. And again, I think in the previous slide I've told you, in the 2018 tiger census, we had roughly 2967 tigers. But in the 2022 census, of course we know that this census happens after 4 years. Okay. So in 2022, this population has increased. Now, if you have been very alert, can you tell me how many tigers do we have as per the 2022 census? How many tigers? Yes, Usha, this is useful for 2023. Yes, because these questions are very relevant. We have taken all the important themes and we are discussing them, right? So because of this, okay, I'm just waiting for your answers. How many tigers now in the 2022 as per the 2022 census, right? So the question is asking you which is correct. So here both statements are wrong. None of them is correct. Excellent, Mukesh. Mukesh is telling us 3167. Yes, that is wrong. And in case you are not able to remember exact figures, just understand that yes, 2900 odd numbers were in 2018 and now roughly 200 numbers have increased. Okay, so even a fair approximate can help you. Now, eco development forces was in the news. Now let us see two statements, and when I show you the image related to it, you will definitely understand. Okay, so it is implemented through Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Is it correct? It is actually implemented through Ministry of Defense. The question is eco development forces, right? This is implemented through Ministry of Defense, number one. Okay, I just show you the image as well. So that forms a visual memory. You can see a lot of defense personnel. They're carrying out afforestation or plantation drives. Okay, so this is this particular project, eco development forces. Okay, so number one, this is implemented through the Ministry of Defense. Fine. It's based on the twin objectives of number one, ecological regeneration, true, and promotion of meaningful employment to ex-servicemen. So both objectives are being met here, but the only thing you need to remember here, eco development forces, think of Ministry of Defense. Okay, eco development forces here, two things just you have to remember. One is the defense personnel and the Ministry of Defense, and second, it's helping us meet two objectives. Now, a very famous theme, or very important theme overall, invasive species in India. So 4 things are mentioned. Some of you get very scared seeing these names and don't even attempt it, or you just think all the 4 will be correct. Now here, spend some time, just say 10 seconds, and see whether all are correct or whether something is odd one out here. You have water hyacinth, you have red hibiscus, there is African catfish, and there is Prosopis juliflora. Okay, the question is asking you which of the following is invasive species in India. Everybody is going for D. Actually, if you see this very carefully, water hyacinth, true. This is known as terror of Bengal. This is an invasive species, right? Red hibiscus is not an invasive species. If you would have seen a lot of red hibiscus even outside your areas, that's a proper this red kind of flower that is being used. Okay. So red hibiscus is not true. African catfish, yes, this is an invasive species, and so is Prosopis juliflora. Okay, Prosopis juliflora has been also in the news. Why? Because of bunny grasslands. Okay, in bunny grasslands, and not just bunny grasslands, also in Tamil Nadu, this had become a lot of nuisance. By the way, bunny grasslands in Gujarat has been infested by more than 30%. So total area, imagine, in the total area around 30% is now Prosopis juliflora. Okay, so that has become, yes, Dikhya, very good. Red hibiscus is being offered to goddess Kali, and in general it is also used in a lot of religious like practices. So hibiscus, and I think if you followed your NCRT etc. in class 6, 7th also, hibiscus is mentioned. It's a proper flower, so it's not this invasive species as such. Okay, so here water hyacinth is there, African catfish, and Prosopis juliflora. Now, can you people tell me other, let's say, these invasive species which are also in the news, or any invasive species which comes to your mind? Okay, so I think if you have followed the current affairs in Kerala, Charu mussels was in the news, again an invasive species. You also have Lantana camara. This was also in the news. This is also an invasive species. Okay. So try to just recall all the invasive species which you have read. In your Samadhan current affairs, this has been properly organized and mentioned in all of this in one particular section. But otherwise also you can try to have this. Very good. Eucalyptus, excellent. Okay. Congress grass, which is known as Parthenium, very good examples. You guys are typing in the comment section. Very good. This is the way to go. We have to be very interactive. That is how we learn better. Okay, good. Next, moving on. Invasive species we have seen. Okay, so for question number 16, the answer was C, 1, 3 and 4. 2 was not correct. Okay. Moving on. Yeah, Russian poplar as well. Very good, Anisa. Now, which of the following lakes are man-made? So first of all, two things you need to know here. The location of these lakes, and secondly, whether they are natural or whether they are man-made. So first of all, Deepor Beel Lake, where is this? Where is Deepor Beel Lake, and where do you know? Hussain Sagar Lake, Chol Mau Lake, and Powai Lake. 4 things are mentioned. The question is just asking you which of the following, right? Which are man-made, okay? Narayana Dilip, excellent. Sena Spectabilis, okay, this is, I did not say it because this is one of the upcoming questions as well, okay? But in case you already know it, excellent. Okay, so basically, I'll just tell you, for example, Deepor Beel, I think, yes, very good. I was waiting for your answers. Deepor Beel is in Assam, okay? Hussain Sagar Lake is basically a man-made lake, number 1, in the twin city, this Hyderabad, and it is built on the tributary of Musi River. So 2 things. First of all, of course, this is a man-made lake. Second, tributary connected of Musi River and in the city of this Hyderabad, right? And Hussain Shah was this Sufi saint of Golconda, okay, during the Qutub Shahi dynasty. So both historical cultural facts and also the environmental facts you should be aware about. This is Hussain Sagar Lake. So 2 has to be in your answer. Okay, so it has to be 1, and this Deepor Beel is not a man-made lake. So by the way, the answer is C. But we'll also see other options. You have Chol Mau Lake. So Chol Mau Lake is a freshwater lake. So of course, Chol Mau Lake cannot be a man-made lake, right? Chol Mau Lake is in Sikkim. And last is Powai Lake. Powai, I think most of you could guess this is in Mumbai, but this is an artificial man-made lake, Powai. Okay. By the way, these man-made kind of, I think previously also UPSC had asked you which of the following is a artificial or a man-made lake. The answer to that was Kodai Canal. Okay. So which is why some of the prominent lakes which have been in the news, try to think, okay, this is whether this is man-made or natural. Same exercise what you have to do for the Ramsar sites. You have 11 new Ramsar sites which are added, totally making it to 75. Out of the 11, you can also in your notes mention which of them are natural and which of them are man-made. Okay, you don't have to do it for all the sites, but at least the recent 11 sites you can do it. Okay, right? So here the answer is 2 and 4. Question number 17. Now the question regarding Wildlife Protection Act 1972. There are questions related to these acts in this paper. The idea is that you are well equipped to deal with them. Okay, and when I say Wildlife Protection Act, so know the basic act as well, and also know the amendments which have happened. Okay, so you have to read this statement carefully. First of all, Wildlife Protection Act talks about protection of animals, as well as plants. Okay, so here total it had 6 schedules. Schedule 1 to 5 is for animals, schedule 6 was for plants. Okay, so statement number 1, it is divided the protection status of various animals into 5 schedules. This is true. Okay, because plants is separate. Plants, there is schedule 6 which talks about plants. Okay, then schedule 1 covers endangered species that need rigorous protection. So that is true. So by the way, you have schedule 1 and you also have part 2 of schedule 2. You have schedule 3 and 4. All of them basically talk about the protection which is going to be given to these species. Okay, Vivek, the part you are telling me that has happened in the amendment, that I'll tell you. Basically right now we are talking of the original act which had these provisions. Okay, I'll also compare both of them with you when there's a question on the amendment as well. In that you only have 4 schedules, right? Because had then the question would have been Wildlife Protection Amendment Act of 2022, that is separate. We are talking right now of 1972 one. Okay, third, schedule 4 contains animals that are considered vermins. No, schedule 5 is vermin, schedule 6 is plants. Okay, vermins are declared by the central government. The state government just puts in a request out, but finally it is the central government which declares these species as vermin. Okay, so these are the 5 schedules basically, or which are related to the animals. Dikya is asking 5th schedule says just about the vermin, right? Yeah, they just talk about the vermins. Yes, 1 and 2. Yes, very good, Rogue. 1 and 2 high protection, 3 and 4 less protection, 5 is vermins, and 6 is these endangered plants. Is this question clear for you? You now understand. I think statement number 3 was very easy to eliminate. Okay, and there is also a question on the amendment. Then I'll compare both these things again. So this will become crystal clear for you. Is it right? Question number 18. So here the answer becomes for us B, 1 and 2 only. Right, now this is a straightforward. So Moriri, the highest lake on earth, is located in. So Moriri, the highest lake on earth, where is it located? Question number 19. So here I think the So Moriri basically, yes, this is present in Ladakh. Okay, and this is Changthang Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, So Moriri. So this is Changthang Wildlife Sanctuary. This is Ladakh. I've also included the image here. So this is your basically So Moriri, and not just So Moriri. You have So Kigar as well. So Kar. Okay. So maybe this can also give you a clue. This term TSO or Pangong So etc. is Ladakh region. Okay. And overall, in your normal this current affairs or in general mapping, you should be aware about these things. So number 1, this is the highest lake on earth, So Moriri, Changthang Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, that is one thing you need to know. Otherwise, there is no point in remembering all the 550 plus wildlife sanctuaries. Only the ones which are there in the news, etc., are the ones you should be aware about. Okay. So yes, question number 19, the answer is D. Moving on to question number 20. Question number 20 is on Amur Falcons. Okay. Now this question you will understand other things here as well. It's a 3-statement question, so we'll see it one by one. This is the world's longest traveling raptor. Okay. Then it stays for a month in Manipur. By the way, if you are aware about a famous lake in which this basically moves or it goes to, then you can understand this. Okay. So Amur Falcon Lake, can you tell me the name of the lake, a very famous lake where it basically moves and goes to? And then you can also understand which state is that a part of. So okay, let me tell you then. Actually, it is Doyang Lake. Okay, Doyang Lake is basically in Nagaland. So first of all, Amur Falcon is a famous this raptor species. So this is one of the world's longest traveling raptor. Okay, and by the way, there is this Bonn Convention which talks about the movement of these migratory species. Okay, I'll just show you what is this Amur Falcon and how it looks like. Okay, so you can also make this memory. Okay, so first of all, this is your Amur Falcon. Okay, now Amur Falcon gets also a lot of tourists. So this is world's longest traveling raptor. Why I told you Bonn Convention? In the Bonn Convention, there is a raptor MOU. MOU means Memorandum of Understanding, which is in which we want to conserve these raptor species like Amur falcons, etc. Okay, so India is a part of this raptor MOU. So India is a part. And second thing, this is not legally binding. Okay, this is not legally binding. Second, Amur falcon stays for a month in Manipur. No, it actually stays for a month in Nagaland, in the Doyang Lake. Okay, somebody has mentioned this Loktak Lake. We will also see questions on Loktak Lake as well. Okay, but Loktak Lake is not very relevant here. The hunting, killing and the sale of Amur falcons has been banned. Okay, basically in Manipur. So in this question we will see that this question number 20, what has actually happened here. Okay, so the hunting, killing, etc. of this has actually been banned in Manipur. And by the way, what had happened, the population of these falcon species was declining. So a lot of conservation activities happened both in Nagaland and other parts of Northeast, including Manipur, which is why the population of these falcons was able to increase. Now the question is asking you which of the following is incorrect, not correct. Okay, so what is not correct is this. 2 is not correct. Statement 1 is true, world's longest traveling raptor. Okay, and also hunting, killing and this has been banned in Manipur. Okay, but it stays for a month in Nagaland, that is Doyang Lake. Okay, now there are some elephant reserves which are mentioned and you have to arrange them from north to south, these elephant reserves. Okay, one is Mayurbhanj, okay, Badalkhol, Timor Pingla, Nilambur and Dandeli. Okay, now these kind of questions I think are very interesting. So if you know roughly the name etc. by, for example, Timor Pingla was in the news. Okay, because this was also designated as this part. So one by one we'll see. Badalkhol and this Timor Pingla is actually in Chhattisgarh. Okay, and by the way, Guru Ghasidas and Timor Pingla wildlife sanctuaries have been combined to form a tiger reserve in Chhattisgarh. So maybe if you knew that, you could also have guessed this part. So one is Chhattisgarh. Mayurbhanj is in Odisha. Okay, so here if you see Mayurbhanj is this part in Odisha. Then you have Dandeli Elephant Reserve. Okay, Dandeli here is in Karnataka. And Nilambur, for example, if you have read about Nilambur teak, okay, so Nilambur is actually in Kerala, right? So of course it has to be here at this region, Kerala. So now if you know this, you can easily arrange all of them. So the question again, whenever this question comes, check whether it is asking you from north to south or south to north. It is asking you question number 21, okay, from north to south. Okay, so the answer here would be this part. Okay, 2, 1, 4, 3. So you start with this Timor Pingla, then Mayurbhanj, then Dandeli, and last is Nilambur. Okay, so even this is how you can just answer that, right? Yes, somebody has mentioned Mike sites as well. Yes, Mike means the monitoring the illegal killing of elephants. Okay, now we move to question number 22. What do you mean by legacy wastes? Okay, now here this is a relatively straightforward question. Legacy waste is actually the waste on the landfills. You might have seen a lot of sites, a lot of waste etc. is being dumped on these landfills. That is to basically known as this legacy waste. The image will basically help you see that. Okay, so there is this landfill site. A lot of these wastes are actually dumped on the ground. All right, so this is basically known as a legacy waste. Now just see, Transboundary hazardous waste. By the way, there is a famous convention for the movement of transboundary movement of hazardous waste. That is known as Basel Convention. That is different. Okay. Another term is mentioned here, that is biomagnification. In biomagnification, what happens? From one trophic level to the other trophic level, the species, let's say the pollution or pollutant increases. So let's say at the bottom level you have a small organism that takes up a pollutant. The number will actually magnify as you move across trophic levels. That is known as biomagnification. In case some of you don't know what is biomagnification. Okay. So this is basically legacy waste. That is something you need to be aware about, the simple term. Okay. Now, the next question, which of the following is included under the National Ambient Air Quality Standards? Again here, if you have many of the statements which are mentioned, what you can do, you can simply eliminate the one which is the most obvious wrong. Okay, so you have nickel, carbon dioxide, benzopyrene, arsenic and mercury. Question number 23. Okay, so you have to see which of the following is a part of the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. Okay, so here what can you eliminate? You can definitely eliminate carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is not measured either in AQI or on these standards. Eliminate 2. Okay, so what pollutants are included here? So you include nickel, you include benzopyrene and you also include arsenic. Mercury as a heavy metal here is not included. Okay, so here the answer becomes 1, 3 and 4. Yes, CO2 is not there. Good participation. Right? CO2 is not there. So we are talking of the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. Okay? Right. Moving on now. This term, a lot of these terms related questions we've also asked you so that you get familiar in how to answer them. Okay? And in case those of you who want to have more, let's say, understanding on all the important terms, I've covered the terms in 3 lectures in the high yielding terminology series. Okay, so even that you can access from the YouTube. The term virtual water was in the news. Virtual water. So what is virtual water, right? So it is actually the water involved in the production and trade of food and non-food commodities and services. Okay. So this is the production and trade of non-food services. I'll just show you the image. This will make it very clear for you. Here what is happening? Let's say India is importing cashews, walnuts. So to prepare all of this, because a lot of these plantation crops, etc., require a lot of water. So the trade of this can also be thought about in terms of trade of water. So when India exports a lot of rice, to cultivate rice, you need a lot of water. Okay. And in India, in many cases, you don't have proper monsoon, you don't have proper irrigation facilities, but still if you're exporting it, that is why in some cases India is called as a net water exporter. Okay, that India is a net water exporter. Fine. This is related to virtual water trade, right? So I hope this image also gets or makes some sense to you. Import and export overall, so that will tell you what is the net or the net virtual water import and export. So for question number 24, I think now it should be very clear to you that the answer here is A. Question number 24, the answer is A. Okay, question number 25. I think some of you had already mentioned the correct answer to this. Why was the tree, first of all, I'm already telling you, Senna spectabilis. Why was this tree in news? Okay. Again, so here the answer is C. It is an invasive species found in Western Ghats. Okay. Senna spectabilis is found in Western Ghats. So I'll just show you. This is Senna spectabilis, and the context was that Kerala is planning to eradicate this Senna spectabilis. Okay. Again, you can in your notes write down it is also found in Mudumalai National Park. If you read articles on Mudumalai, you can find this Senna spectabilis. Okay. Second, this is actually a deciduous tree. Okay. And this is native to tropical regions of America. Okay. Now, when I'm saying something has become invasive, the basic idea is that first of all, it is not grown in that region. Let's say our scientists have gone to that particular place, they have brought it to for us. Okay. And when this is brought to a native habitat, what happens? The native species are not able to compete with this. Okay. So these invasive species are very competitive. They take a lot of resources very efficiently. So after a period of time, they are able to live, but the other related or surrounding species somehow die. So this is why these invasive species are a very important, like harmful, or these are a threat to the biodiversity. This is one of the main reasons as to why concern is there. So in your notes also add Sena spectabilis as well. Okay, and that this is also found in Mudumalai. Of course, when I'm saying Western Ghats, yes, Kerala is the state which is planning to eradicate it. Okay, again in your notes mention that in Kerala, especially in the Astamudi lake, you have invasive species known as charu mussels. If you have followed your current affairs or let's say newspapers of the last 2 or 3 months, you would have come across charu mussels. That is also Kerala. So 2 invasive species we have seen in Kerala. One, Sena spectabilis, and one is charu mussels. Okay. Moving on now. Now this question, I think many of you will answer it easily. Okay, this is a straightforward question. The question is asking which of the following is correct. Ramsar sites. Ramsar, you already know, is a city in Iran. This Ramsar convention came, the year was 1971. First question, how many Ramsar sites in India? This is correct. So you have 75 Ramsar sites in India. Okay. Second, which is the state which has the maximum number of Ramsar sites? Okay. Earlier it was UP, but now Tamil Nadu with 14 Ramsar sites is leading. Tamil Nadu is the maximum one. Uttar Pradesh has 10 Ramsar sites. Okay. Total area under wetland is less than 5% of the total geographical area of the country. Okay. Maybe some of you got confused here, but this is actually true. Okay. In this test, I've tried to include some of these factual details. Okay. Like for example, some factual detail I also asked you in the forest survey report, and also this. So yes, this is true that only that this is around, and by the way, this is around 4 point something percentage. Don't remember that. Just remember that the total area under wetland is less than 5%. Now tell me, we've already done this. Do we have more of inland wetlands or do we have more of coastal wetlands? More of inland or more of coastal wetlands? Yes, more of inland wetlands, right, correct. So of course when statement 2 is wrong, the answer becomes C, 1 and 3 only. Alright. So wetland area is less than 5%, that is 1. Okay. Again, one more thing, that you have around 75 wetlands, yes. So take a piece of map and try to map this. Okay. This will be very useful for you. This year also in 2022, you had a state-wise 4 wetlands were there. You have to match them. Okay. So if you do it properly on a piece of map, slowly and steadily, it will be easier for you to recall. Otherwise, if you think that you will try to remember it in the last maybe 3 or 4 days, it becomes tedious. Question number 27. This Jinkeng Jri, what is this? Again, this is a kind of a one-liner question. Okay. So what is this Jinkeng Jri? So these are these living root bridges in Meghalaya. Okay. Some of you might have been seeing these proper living root bridges. Okay. These is a good tourist destination and also a tourist spectacle. So basically when I'm saying this term Jinkeng Jri, these are basically the living root bridges in Meghalaya. Okay. Yes, I think some of you got this question correct. Very good. The answer here for 27 is B, living root bridges in Meghalaya. this Jingqiangjiri. All right. Now, what are the possible impacts of overgrazing? Four terms are, at least four statements are mentioned here. Okay. Now here, basically, reduced vulnerability to water and wind erosion. Now let's see if there is more overgrazing which is going to happen. Now because of more overgrazing, etc., the mulch, vegetation, or all these cover will not be present. This will be removed. Okay. So the soil or the top soil is very prone to erosion. Okay. So there is not reduced vulnerability. There will be more vulnerability. It will be very vulnerable to wind and water erosion. Okay. So this becomes wrong. Okay. Then increase in infiltration of the water into the soil. Again the same thing. When this vegetation, etc., is not present, all of this has been removed. How will this water, etc., will be infiltrated into the soil? It will not be. There will be more water runoff, etc. So even this is wrong. Okay. Increase in invasion of xerophytic plants. Okay. Xerophytic plants, again, when you don't have proper vegetation, etc., and especially in these deserted lands, xerophytic, you can just think of example like cactus. Cactus is xerophytic. Xerophytic means having or requiring very less amount of water. Okay. So yes, this will be invaded by them, and now because the soil has become very loose, okay, what will happen? Loose soil, a lot of burrowing animals. Okay, you will have, let's say, rats, rodents, earthworms, etc. They will invade it because vegetation is not there. It is easy for them. True. Breakdown of biogeochemical cycles of water and nitrogen. This is also true. The biogeochemical cycles, etc., will not be able to function as properly because the circulation of nutrients will be impacted because of overgrazing, right? So yes, many of you have answered this correctly. For question number 28, the answer is B. 3 and 4 only. All right. Now this is a very good question. Again, can be asked in the exam also. Again, relevant from current affairs perspective as well. Kunming Declaration on Biodiversity. Okay. It is related to UNFCCC. Now again, I'm telling you, in all of this, some of you are sometimes confused. So I'll tell you. There was a Rio Summit in 1992 which spoke about 3 conventions. One is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. Then you have United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, and then you have United Nations Convention on Biodiversity. First of all the 3 are different. Okay, one is for climate change, one is for desertification, and one is for biodiversity. So first of all, make sure you understand this, and there are different conference of parties for all. Those of you who don't understand it, the lecture on conventions has also been uploaded on YouTube, HYT. So please make sure you also understand these parts. So when I'm talking of Kunming Biodiversity, I'm actually talking of UNCBD. I'm not talking of UNFCCC or CCD. Okay. So if you understand this part, then this question will be very easy for you. Okay. It is related to UNFCCC. No. It is related to CBD. So one is wrong. It is a legally binding international declaration. Now, one by one you have to see here. Though, first of all, this is actually a declaration. Okay. So this is not legally binding. So 2 is also wrong. At this conference, the countries agreed to make land degradation neutrality by 2030 a target for action. Now, some of you might think this is right. No. Land degradation neutrality, etc., is spoken in UNCCD. So again, this is wrong. 3 is also wrong. Okay. Last, it calls upon the parties to mainstream biodiversity decision making, etc., and recognizes the importance of protection of human health. Yeah, this part is true, that it talks about protection of human health, right? So here, yes, the answer correct is D. Okay, 4 only is the correct answer for Kunming Declaration on Biodiversity. All right. Okay, this is there. By the way, I already have spoken about this. Kunming is a place in China, and here the virtual summit had happened, and later on in Montreal in Canada, and proper in-person meet happened. So in some cases you will find the term Kunming Montreal Biodiversity Framework. That is related to this part only. So Kunming virtual happened meeting. Okay, because of COVID, you already know. And all of this is the COP15 of CBD, Convention on Biodiversity, COP15. All right. Okay, moving forward now. Shallow and deep ecologism. Now, these are basic philosophical principles. So, one term is shallow and one is deep. So, I'll just tell you, this was spoken about. The term deep ecology was spoken about by this Norwegian philosopher Arne Naes way back in 1973. Okay, and very like this year also, let's say in 2022, this was again spoken about. So, this term was there in current affairs. So, I'll tell you. In deep ecology, we consider everything to be important because they are constituents of nature. Okay, so that is the right approach. This is called as deep ecology, wherein we have a respect for all the natural entities. Shallow ecology is what we think human beings are the most important species, and hence only the human beings should be conserved and their actions should be given more priority. Okay, so first of all, this is the basic idea. All right, so now we'll see. This concept was first introduced by the Honorable Prime Minister in COP25. No, this is just to confuse you. This is not correct. Okay, I told you this was given by Arne Naes, the philosopher, way back in 1973. So this cannot be right. Okay, deep ecology is a powerful and a fashionable fight against pollution and resource depletion. No, it is the shallow ecology. Shallow ecology means making very small changes. Okay, and very small, and in some cases not very impactful. Related to shallow ecology, there is a term you might have heard about. This was already asked by UPSC. Is this term known as greenwashing, wherein you give an impression that you are environmentally sustainable, but in reality one is not. Okay, so deep ecology is actually not this fashionable fight. Fashionable fight is shallow ecology. Deep ecology means proper, holistic, long-term, okay, visionary changes which are brought, right? So deep ecology actually says that you have to rethink the survival of the fittest doctrine. It's not the survival of the fittest anymore. Okay, so we have to think, and we have to think of all the species and not just humans. Okay, so here, because of this statement, 1 is wrong. Okay, and even 2 is wrong. So answer here is 30 is C, 3 only. Okay, now this is a straightforward question. If you've watched my high yielding lecture on the reports, you would know this. State of the World's Forest Report, by the way, this is a famous report. This actually 31 is released by FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, right? And I think there is one more question later on in which we've discussed 4 reports as well. We'll also see that, right? So State of the World's Forest Report is by FAO. All right. Now moving forward, question number 32. With reference to seaweeds. Okay, so there are 2 terms. One is seaweed and one term is seagrass. So we'll just see here what kind of like points are being asked from us. So question number 32, the first statement, that seaweed is a variety of this grass. Okay, actually seaweeds is not a grass. Okay, the name seaweed will tell you this is actually a variety of microalgae. And now if you know these are microalgae, then this cannot develop into tissues or into different root stems and leaves. So statement 1 becomes wrong. Okay, so first of all, seaweeds are microalgae. Okay, and they cannot, of course, if they are microalgae, algae, etc., do not develop into these differentiated aspects. Okay, right? They generally grow in shallow waters in the tidal zone. Yes, shallow waters, they want nutrients, etc. That is true. They contribute to about 50%, okay, of all the photosynthesis in the world. Okay, so this is also true that they contribute around 50% to this part, right? Now, the seaweeds found in Sargasso Sea begin their life on the floor of the oceans. Generally, the seaweeds which are found begin their life in the floor of the oceans. But in case of Sargasso Sea, by the way, you know, Sargasso Sea has this Sargassum weed. Okay, so because of that, it does not is found on the floor of the ocean. Okay, so this part is wrong here, right? So here it's a free floating sea, okay, and it is found in the higher regions. It is not found on the floor. Otherwise, seaweeds etc. are found in the other parts, right? So here 1 and 4 is wrong. So the answer becomes this. What is correct? Question number 32. Two statements, 2 and 3 is correct. Okay. These are the basic seaweeds that you should know. Now again, this has been asked in the current affairs, this BOMA capturing technique. Okay. So what is BOMA capturing technique? So you are luring the animals into an enclosure. I'll just show you what this means, then it will make sense to you. This is this enclosure. Okay. So in BOMA capturing technique, what is happening? There are enclosures, you can see, right? And in this, you have an entrance. The animal, etc., goes here, and then the power supply, etc., is there. So the basic idea is that you want to capture and conserve these species. Okay. Now this has been inspired from Africa, the BOMA capturing technique. Okay. Now why was this in use? The first time in Rajasthan, right? It was used for translocation of cheetal. Cheetal is the spotted deer from two places, okay? From Bharatpur's Keoladeo to Mukundra Hills. So the context is also clear and known to you, okay? So again, now let us see the question. Now this will become easy for you to understand. Luring of animals and like chasing them into this fencing, this is true. Used for the first time in Kanha, Madhya Pradesh. No, this is not correct. From Keoladeo to Mukundra, okay? And it is basically related to this spotted deer that is known as cheetal. Alright? So here the question is asking what is correct. The answer is 1 only. Okay? Now next question is on plastic waste. Waste amendment of 2021. Okay? There is a good thrust by the government on elimination of the single-use plastics as well. So we'll see. Violation of this amendment rules is punishable under the Environment Protection Act. Yes, that is true. Okay. So violation of these rules is a punishable offense, etc. And those penalties are properly mentioned in the Environment Protection Act. True. Okay. Second, in order to stop the littering of light waste plastic bags, okay, the thickness of the plastic bags has been increased. Now first point is, two things are mentioned, whether thickness has been increased and from what to how. Okay. So first of all, the thickness of the plastic bags has been increased, that is true. But the thickness has been increased from initially 50 to 75, from 75 to even 100, and even from 100 to 125. Okay. So factually this is wrong. Yes, the thickness was increased, but not from 10 to 25. Okay. So question number 2 becomes wrong. If you eliminate 2, 2 options are gone. 3, to strengthen the implementation of plastic waste rules, central assistance will be given to states and UTs for this waste management. Now this third statement is true, but it is not related to these rules. This assistance is being provided under Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0. Okay, so it is not under these plastic waste rules. Actually, central assistance is going to be provided to states and UT for the solid waste management, okay, under the Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0. So in this Swachh Bharat Mission, you talk about solid waste management and you also talk about plastic waste management, right? So things like this have been asked. So make sure you understand. There are very fine details mentioned here. Like some of you can also get confused in whether the penalties are there in which act. Okay. So make sure you understand these things, which is why question 34, the answer becomes 1 only. Okay. This is what we were discussing, that government has notified these rules, etc., to eliminate these single-use plastics. And overall, the thickness was increased from 50 to 75 and later to 100. And even further, this has been increased. Okay. Now, this is a straightforward question. Which of the following organizations have? These kind of questions also get asked. Common risk mitigation mechanism. If you directly get this, 4 bodies or 4 these organizations are asked. So the question is asking you, this is related to what? Common risk mitigation mechanism is related to International Solar Alliance. Okay. Of course, International Solar Alliance was formed in COP21. What is COP21? Paris Climate Deal. Happened in 2015. Right? India and France came together, formed this International Solar Alliance. Now, this is common risk mitigation mechanism. Basically talks about how can the risk be mitigated in case of when there is investments in the solar projects, giving of solar loans, etc. So how can the risk be mitigated so that the other vulnerable countries, etc. can also be beneficiaries of this. Okay. So this is International Solar Alliance 35. Next question is black carbon. Now again, please make sure when you have attempted this, whether you saw correct or not correct. How many of you actually saw this is incorrect when you attempted this question? Okay, so now we'll see black carbon. Okay, now one thing, how is black carbon formed? Black carbon is formed due to the incomplete combustion, okay, of these carbon or hydrocarbons. Incomplete combustion, number one. And then there are soot particles also related with this. All right. So basically, now it is saying black carbon reduces the albedo. Okay, what is albedo? Albedo is reflectivity. So let's say this is a glacier, and on this glacier a lot of black carbon has deposited. Now because of sun, the heat is going to be absorbed by the black carbon, okay, which means the reflectivity will reduce, not increase. Okay, so black carbon does reduce the reflectivity, true. Okay, and because of this the glacier will also melt, right? So black carbon reduces albedo. Albedo means reflectivity. Reflectivity is reduced, right? True. It is the strongest absorber of sunlight and heats the air directly. This is also true, right? The heating is happening and a lot of melting of glaciers is happening because of deposition of black carbon. It disrupts cloudiness and monsoon rainfall and accelerates the melting of mountain glaciers. Even this part is true, right? So all the three statements are correct. The question is asking you what is incorrect, right? So the answer will be none of these is incorrect. Okay. And now when we are talking of black carbon, I already told you it is formed due to incomplete combustion. Second thing you should know, it is a short-lived climate pollutant. It is short-lived, which is why it is dangerous. That it stays in the atmosphere for a very short time, but its effects are very harmful. Okay. So yes, this is black carbon. It is emitted, a lot of this is emitted from these household sources, chula, etc. In the wooden, all these components, household energy, biggest contributor. Then you have transport, agriculture, industrial, wastes, etc. So this is one of the issues related to black carbon, its sources of emission, etc. Right? And because of this, yes, a lot of deaths, etc. is going to happen. And again, formation of clouds, all these things will be impacted because of this. All right. Now, next question, question number 37. This is related to Bonn Convention. Okay. It aims to conserve avian, aquatic migratory species throughout the range, but not the terrestrial migratory species. Okay. So if you know about Bonn Convention, it covers all the species, be it avian, be it terrestrial, or be it aquatic, all are covered. So this becomes wrong. Okay. Bonn Convention is also known as the Convention on Migratory Species, right? Second statement, 37, that it works under the aegis of IUCN. Okay, so this is not correct. It actually works under the aegis of United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. Okay, so because of this, the question is asking you which of the following is correct. Okay, the answer is D, neither is correct. Both the statements here are wrong. All right. This is Bonn Convention. So yes, there are three kinds of species. It covers all of them, right? Right. Moving on now. Again, a very important body, NTCA. And in every, by the way, please make sure whenever you see any of these bodies, try to deliberately think whether it is statutory. If it is statutory, think what is the act which is forming these bodies. Okay. So when we're talking of National Tiger Conservation Authority, first question, it has been given statutory status. Second, the act is mentioned. So statutory status is true. Now it is mentioned National Tiger Conservation Authority Act. No, this act is wrong. It is again created under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Okay, so first statement is wrong. Second, it aims to improve tiger conservation plan prepared by state governments. Of course, it's the Tiger Conservation Authority. This would be its chief aim or the mandate. This is true. It is headed by the Environment Minister. This is also true. So here, statement 2 and 3 is correct. The answer becomes B for question number 38. 1 is wrong. By the way, if you were very sure 1 is wrong, you could have simply eliminated and directly got the answer as B. Okay. Yes. Good participation. Okay. I think Bhaskar, Anisa, Pratiksha, Naman. Yes, the answer is correct. Right. For with NTCA, right? So here the answer is B. 38. Now, two statements are given. According to emissions gap report, so first of all, there is a report which is mentioned, which is asking you what is the status of India, number one. Second, there is a global methane pledge. Okay, so two things. I think first statement, you should be aware that in terms of world, what is the level of India in terms of greenhouse gas emissions? Okay, whether India is the 5th largest emitter, okay, or not. So first thing you need to know, emissions gap report is a famous report by, again, United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. India is not the world's 5th largest. Okay, India is actually world's 3rd largest. So number 1 is China, then you have US, and then you have India. Okay. So statement 1 becomes wrong. Second, India has not signed the global methane pledge. So first of all, I'll tell you, global methane pledge came forward in COP26 of UNFCCC. COP26 happened in Glasgow, UK. Okay, so number 1, this happened in COP26, and the most important part is that India has not signed the global methane pledge. So which is why this is correct. So at India does not sign it. Statement 1 is wrong. Okay, so question is asking you which of the following is correct. So it becomes this. Okay. Emission gap report you already now know. It is by UNEP. India is the world's 3rd largest emitter, and India has not signed the global methane pledge. Okay. This is roughly emission gap report, that let's say these are your emissions and this is your target. So this is the gap overall which has to be plugged in, which means the countries have to adopt renewable technologies, the countries have to become better overall. That is the basic idea. Okay, and this is the methane global methane pledge of COP26, reducing the emissions by 30% by 2030 compared to 2020 levels. Okay, right. Moving on now. Next, question number 40. Now this question is with respect to snow leopard. Again, please see, this is talking about incorrect. Okay. Snow leopards can be spotted in Arunachal Pradesh. Yes, you can see them. You can also see them in Sikkim. You can see them in, let's say, parts of Ladakh as well. Okay. And when I say Ladakh, you should also think of Hemis National Park. Okay. Hemis National Park is known as the snow leopard capital of the world, right? So snow leopards can be spotted fine. Then there is a famous Bishkek Declaration related to the conservation of these snow leopards. Okay, so even this part is correct. Bishkek Declaration is there. Okay, and the IUCN status is endangered. No, this is not correct. The IUCN status is vulnerable. Okay, so with respect to snow leopards, statement 1 and 2 is correct. The question is asking you what is not correct. Okay, so this is not correct. B, 3 only. Okay, this is the snow leopard we are talking about. Now, which of now again the term is dieback. Those of you who had seen this high yielding topic series, I have also covered this term. Okay, what is a dieback? When I show you how this looks, so this is basically a dieback which happens. Okay, so dieback is basically this method wherein the progressively, let's say the progressive dying of plants happens, but this is usually not upwards, but this is backwards. So this is wrong. Statement 1 is wrong, and this is one of the adaptive mechanisms to avoid these adverse condition by plants. So this is basically known as the dieback. So for question 21, okay, sorry, not 21, this is 41. And by the way, this is one of the mechanism as to why, let's say there is an adverse climate condition. Because of dieback, these plants, etc., are able to survive for a very long time. Okay, so that helps them. So this is an adaptive mechanism, right, to avoid adverse conditions by the plants. This is dieback. And statement number 1, while because of a very small like detail, this is why this is becoming wrong. Okay, that is known as dieback. Okay, and you can see this from the image as well. This is how the dieback looks like, adaptive condition, right? Next question. Question number 42, about the correct order of increasing ecological productivity. What is ecological productivity? Productivity is different from production. Productivity is always per unit time or per unit area. Okay, production can be anything, 100 kgs, 200 kgs, but I'm not sure how much of it is produced in 1 hour, or let's say in 1 day, or let's say in 1 unit or 1 hectare of land. Okay, so which is why estuaries or let's say mangroves have very high productivity of wetlands. Why? Because they have less area. In that less area, and by the way, these are ecotones. Okay, so think about this same thing, numerator versus denominator. The area is less, but the production overall is very high, so the fraction becomes very better. Whereas think of oceans. Oceans like occupy a very large area, so denominator is huge, and in that big area, overall one is not able to have that high level of productivity, right? So here it is talking of increasing level. So we start with open ocean, then lakes, then agriculture land, and then last is estuaries. Estuaries are very highly ecologically productive regions. Estuaries are ecotones. And more specifically, what are estuaries? Estuaries is when the fresh water meets the salt water. So when let's say the glacier melts or a river comes in and it joins an ocean which has salt water, so the meeting ground of this fresh water and the salt water is known as estuary. Okay, so yes, 42, the answer is C. Moving forward now, Montreal Record. Again, this is something you should know. Ramsar Convention has total in India you have 75 wetlands. Now there can be some other wetlands which are of very, very high ecological importance. Those wetlands can be threatened, are being threatened, or can be threatened in the future with some degraded changes. Okay, so first of all, that is the basic idea of these Montreal Record sites. The first site in India to be added in the Montreal Record was Chilka Lake. Okay, Chilka Lake is in Odisha, right? But it was removed. Now it is saying it was removed in 2021. No, this was removed almost 20 years back. So Chilka Lake is wrong, although Chilka Lake was the first site to be added, but currently it's not a part of it. Currently only 2 sites are a part of it. One is Loktak Lake. Loktak Lake is basically found in Manipur. Okay, it is famous for the floating vegetation known as Fumdis. Okay, it is close to Kebil Lamjao National Park, and there is this famous Sangai deer, which are also known as the dancing deer, which you find in Loktak Lake. So Loktak Lake is one of these Montreal Record sites, true, and it is due to the infestation of water hyacinth. Even this part is true. Water hyacinth we have already seen. Okay, water hyacinth is what? Water hyacinth is basically this overall invasive species. Okay, so that is there. Second, Kyoladeo National Park was included due to invasive growth of, now this grass also you can just mention, Paspalum distichum. Okay, so this was the grass which was there, which was because of which this was added, right? So question number 43, it is asking what is the correct part, right? So 1 and 2 is correct. Okay. Now, which of the following events is directly related to wetlands? Ramsar Declaration, all of us know this is related to wetlands. Okay. There is a Chang Wong Declaration. This also happened way back, but it spoke about the participation of people in the conservation of wetlands. This is also true. Montreal Record is also true. We have just seen that. This is related to wetlands. Buckingham Palace Declaration is for illegal wildlife trade. Okay, this is illegal wildlife trade. This is not related to it. So the answer is 1, 2 and 4. A. Okay. Additionally, recently the Ramsar Convention had a conference of parties. Okay, that had this happened in Wuhan. So this Wuhan declaration is also related to Ramsar Convention. Okay, there is this Wuhan declaration. All right, that is question number 44. The answer is A. All right, now we move to question number 45. So there are few things which are mentioned here. Number one, these are cold-blooded animals. Okay, so there are two types of animals, warm-blooded and cold-blooded. Warm-blooded animals are the ones which are able to regulate their body temperature. Cold-blooded animals are not able to do so. Number one. Okay, so they raise their body temperature by lying in the sun. So they go out in the sun, and they lower this by crawling in the shade. Okay, so even this first part, lying in the sun and by crawling, you should think about reptiles, that reptiles do this. Okay, their body temperature changes to the temperature of its surroundings. Yes, this is what is happening in the classic case of reptiles. Example of reptiles can be these crocodiles. Okay, and it can also be these turtles and tortoises, right? So this statement basically talk about this part, right, that we are talking about cold-blooded animals which can raise their body temperature, which go out in the sun. So you would have seen a lot of crocodiles, turtles and tortoise basically going out in the sun and basically crawling around, right? Now that is one. Frog, what is frog? Frog is an amphibian. Okay, they breathe through the skin. Second, mahasir. Mahasir is a fish. This particular thing was already asked by UPSC this year in the exam, right? And then you have earthworms, right? So these three are not correct. The answer here is D for question number 45. All right, tortoise. Next question is on mangrove ecosystems. Okay, now this is a good way to understand what is going to happen here. Now, highly adapted to saline stress. First of all, mangroves are salt tolerant species. Okay, these are also known as halophytes, right? So are highly adapted to saline stress, yes, and waterlogged anaerobic conditions. Anaerobic means in the absence of oxygen. So yes, these are found in these waterlogged anaerobic mud. True. Second, they have the ability to absorb fresh water from saline water for its use. This is true, but I just want to add one more thing. This happens in the presence of sunlight. You need energy to make sure this process can happen, right? So this is also true. Third, they exhibit viviparity, mode of reproduction. So I'll tell you what this means. So when we talk of mangroves, okay, one second, yeah. So let's say these are the mangroves which are infested by a lot of water. These are waterlogged conditions. So if the seed will fall down in the water and it will get destroyed. Okay, so to prevent that, the seed germinates in the tree itself. Okay, when the seed germinates in the tree itself, this is one of the mechanisms to prevent it. Okay, so viviparity is the reproduction in which the seed germinate in the tree itself. Yes, this is also present in mangrove system. Additionally, mangrove ecosystem also has pneumatophores. What are pneumatophores? Pneumatophores are these roots. These roots have aerial projections. Why? So that the roots can breathe. Okay, these waterlogged conditions don't provide enough oxygen here. Okay, so there is a modification, right, which is there so that the roots are able to breathe. Okay, so the question is, statement which of the following is incorrect? What is incorrect? None is incorrect. All the three statements for mangrove is correct. All right, moving on now. So that was 46. The answer is D. 47. India's largest floating treatment wetland. India's largest floating treatment wetland. Okay, so here the answer is Nek Nampur Lake. Okay, so Nek Nampur Lake, basically here it is a floating treatment wetland. So even this part can be asked, for example. So one is this, there a rejuvenation of this lake is also happening. So this is going to be present here, and then the location you can just write down. This is in Hyderabad, okay, Telangana. So this is where this is found. So this is because it's a fact, it is India's largest floating treatment wetland. Okay, so that is why this is known as Nek Nampur Lake. Loktak Lake we've already seen. in Manipur. All right. So question number 47, the answer is B. Moving forward now, question number 48 with respect to biofuels. Okay. Now, first question talks about generation of biofuels, right? So I will just tell you. So there, the National Biofuel Policy as well talks about 4 generation of biofuels. First, second, third, and fourth. In the first generation of biofuels, we basically talk about food crops. So let's say we have corn, we have cassava, we have starch, etc. Okay. So based on these starch and corn, these are food crops, and the excess or the surplus food crops, through them we are making the biofuels. Okay. And the term biofuels will also tell you this will have lower emissions, so environmentally friendly. Second, these biofuels also help you reduce your import bill. So economically as well, they have a benefit. Okay. So one is this. Second is non-food crops, for example, jatropha. Right. The third generation will be the use of algae. Okay. And fourth generation is actually genetic modification of these algae, etc., which is used. So fourth generation uses GM algae to enhance biofuel production. That is correct. Okay. Now second statement, biofuels are the source, okay, of methane emissions. True. When you burn them, etc., so they will release a lot of methane. Okay. This is true. Additionally, can you guys tell me where is, like, what are the top sources of methane emissions? In the comment section, can you let me know the top sources of methane emissions? Then biodiesel nearly eliminate emissions of nitrogen oxides. No, this does not happen. A lot of these NOx gases, etc., are like released. Okay. So that is a constant part which is going to happen. So this is wrong. Recently in news, golden rice is used in manufacturing of efficient biofuels. Even this is different. Golden rice is different. Okay. And the biofuel concept is different, right? Golden rice, in that there has been a genetic modification done to increase the availability of nutrients in general, right? So that is different. Whereas when we talk of biofuels, and by the way, golden rice, etc., is you have heard of terms like fortification, and it can be basic food fortification, and they can be biofortification as well, right? So this is how the golden rice is there. So golden rice is not directly related to it. Okay. Okay, fine, good. Rice, agriculture, paddy. Okay, I think yes, many of you know it. Grazing, permafrost, very good, Shivam. Sad. Ruminants, very good. That is also a good point. Ruminants or cattle, right? They also release. And by the way, the technical name for that process is known as enteric fermentation. Okay. So that is also there. Okay. No, see, the first statement basically it is saying the use of genetically modified algae. Okay. So in general, the algae is used in the third generation, whereas in the fourth generation, you use a genetic modification, or it can also have some carbon sequestering technology itself. So because of this genetic modification, this can be used to enhance the biofuel production. Okay, right? Yeah, Anissa, that is correct. Wetlands, fossil fuel, this extraction, livestock, etc. Right? So here, question number 48, the answer becomes 1 and 2 only. It's asking you what is correct. Moving on, this is how this biofuel is basically being made. Okay. Next, this is related to productivity of an ecosystem. The gross primary productivity is the rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis. See, we are talking of primary productivity. That basically means we're talking of the plants. Okay, the autotrophs. So rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis. Yes, it is during this process this particular thing happens. So that is true. Then eutrophication leads to increased primary productivity of a water body. What is eutrophication? Eutrophication is basically nutrient enrichment. Okay, these nutrient enrichment are going to happen in case of these water bodies. So because of this, the primary productivity will be going to increase. Okay, Other people, are you able to hear me? Nitish, is the voice proper now? Is it better? Then the stable biological community shows a large variation in productivity. Okay. Yes, Sakshi, that is correct. That is nutrient enrichment. Now see, if a community is stable, when we are saying it is a stable biological community, we also mean that the variation in productivity will be very low. Okay. The variation in productivity will be very less. Okay. So it will not show a large variation. So for example, if on 1 month it has 100 kg, then other month cannot be 500 or 600. Otherwise, how is it stable? Okay. And in your case as well, if you say that my studies are very stable, it means day wise or month wise your output is relatively having less variations. So high variations are a sign of an unstable community. Okay. So the stable biological community shows large variations. Okay. From year to year. No, this is wrong. 3 becomes wrong. Fourth, mangroves have higher productivity than the oceans, grasslands and lakes. Okay. So that part is true. I've already spoken about how mangroves are very ecologically productive regions. Okay. So for question number 49, the answer becomes 1, 2 and 4. Right. Moving on now. Question number 50. Okay. A Wildlife Protection Act helped India become a party to CITES. This is true. Okay, that we are basically helping to implement the provisions of CITES. CITES is for the trade of endangered species. Statement 1 is correct. Statement 2, National Board for Wildlife is a statutory body constituted under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Okay, this is also true. This is something we have discussed already. Okay. Then eco-sensitive zones are declared under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. This is wrong. Eco-sensitive zones are not declared under this particular, right? These are declared under Environment Protection Act. Okay. So statement 3 is wrong. If you eliminate 3, then you get, and then Kyoladeo National Park enjoys legal protection under the provisions of Wildlife Protection Act. Okay. So that is true. So here the answer becomes C. 1, 2 and 4. The only important takeaway here is eco-sensitive zones are under or declared under the Environment Protection Act of 1986. Okay. Okay. And just an announcement for all of you that SUNYA IAS has also come up with the GS Foundation course, very meticulously planned in 4 stages. Okay. Wherein you can avail this both online and offline. The details of it have already been shared in the discussion group, in the Telegram channels and also on the website. So those of you who want to prepare for 2024 very properly, very thoroughly, in a very systematic and an organized manner, should definitely look out for this foundation course for 2024. Okay. Now question 51 is with respect to crocodiles in India. Okay. So first statement, I think everybody can tell me, saltwater crocodile, is it the national aquatic animal of India? Saltwater crocodile. So of course this is not. It is the Gangetic dolphin, which is the national aquatic animal of India. So statement 1 is wrong. Eliminate that. Ghadial can be found throughout the Indian subcontinent. Now questions like this you should definitely think about. You know that ghadial is critically endangered, number 1. Second, it is usually found or located in the Chambal river, let's say the National Chambal Sanctuary, etc. In that part you find more of ghadial. Okay. So whether this will be found throughout, so of course this you can definitely understand, this is also wrong. Okay. Project Crocodile. Now this is an important point. Many of you don't know about Project Crocodile. You know about Project Elephant 1992, and then there was a Project Tiger 1973. But many of you don't know Project Crocodile. So here the year is 1975. So let's say if they ask you how to arrange. So Tiger 1973, Crocodile 1975, and Elephant is 1992. Okay. and by UNDP and FAO. Okay, we have already seen FAO publishing the state of the world's forest report, and again this is there. Otherwise, if in the exam it is there, you might think why is FAO responsible or being used in this project Crocodile, but this is true. Okay, then statement number 4, let's see. Statement number 4, Odisha is the only state in India that has all the 3 species of crocodile, right? Ghadial, Magar, and the saltwater crocodile, right? Is it true? Yes, this is true. And the name of the district in Odisha is the Kendrapada district. Okay, so Kendrapada district in Odisha is having all the 3 species of crocodile, that is Ghadial, Magar, and the saltwater crocodile, right? For example, saltwater crocodile you can find in Bhitarkanika region, etc. Right? Ghadial we already know. Ghadial is critically endangered, found mainly in the Chambal river. Okay, so just a second. Yeah, so here because of this, statement 3 and 4 is correct. The answer is B. Question 51, 3 and 4. Okay, now here also if you use good elimination you can find the answer. Mouth of Daya river, one of the largest coastal lagoons in India, right? By the way, it was designated as a wetland of international importance. Was, it should be, right? This was the first site to be designated under the Montreal record. Okay, and you will find Irrawaddy dolphins. So here, what are we talking about? 52, we are talking about Chilika Lake. Chilika Lake was the first site to be added in the Montreal record, number 1. Okay, you will find Irrawaddy dolphins. Okay, you will like it is at the mouth of Daya river. Okay, so even this way you can attempt these questions, right? 52, the answer is C. So make sure you understand. For example, tell me where is Vembanad Lake and where is Pulicat Lake. Loktak you already know is Manipur. Where is Vembanad Lake and where is Pulicat? Tell me both of them. Now, next question, question number 53. With respect to community reserves and conservation reserves, okay? So both of them are protected areas under Wildlife Protection Act. Yes, this is true. Both are these protected areas, right? Now, second point is where the most of the thing lies. Now, 2 things, community reserves and conservation. Community reserve uses the land of the community. Okay, so the private land, etc. The land owned by the community is spoken about in the community reserve. Conservation reserve is the land which is owned by the government, specifically the state governments, right? There these conservation reserves are being formed. Conservation reserve is the area owned by individuals or communities. No, this is the area, conservation reserve, which is owned by the government. So statement 2 is wrong. Now, India's first dugong conservation reserve is stated to be established in Tamil Nadu. Absolutely correct. And that is going to be established in Gulf of Mannar. Okay. So basically the Gulf of Mannar is going to be there. Okay. So 1 is correct, 3 is correct, and then more than half of the community reserves are located basically in Nagaland. Okay. So even this part is true. The answer is 1, 3 and 4. Alright. So here, this part is very important. India's first dugong conservation reserve. This is to be established in the state of Tamil Nadu. Okay. Next question. Again, it is asking us which of the following is correct. Okay. Asbestos is artificially made fibrous silicate. Question number 54. Okay. So asbestos is not artificially made, this is actually naturally made. Okay, so this is of course becomes wrong. Then inhalation of asbestos fibers can cause mesothelioma. By the way, if you directly eliminate 1, you also get your answer here. That is also one of the ways, in case you already know it. Okay, for question number 54. Otherwise, yes, asbestos is naturally made. Inhalation causes this mesothelioma, which is again related to the lungs, and all these kind of respiration issues happen because of this. And second, radon is emitted naturally by the soil, causing indoor air pollution. Okay, so that part is also true, that radon is emitted naturally. In fact, radon causes a lot of this indoor air pollution. Okay, so here 54, the answer becomes B. Right. Next question. Lead is a carcinogen. Okay, what is a carcinogen? It basically means it is a it can cause cancer. Okay, so lead can cause cancers of the lungs and the kidneys. True. Okay. Tetraethyl lead was added to petrol as an anti-knock agent. So yes, this was done. And the idea is that, see, knocking is that the kind of voice which is going to come from the engine. So to prevent that, it is an anti-knock agent. If you add an anti-knock agent, it will lead to smoother running of engines. So that is true. Then battery scrap, okay, will get mixed up with water and can create this poisoning. So yes, this battery scrap can also have a lot of pollutants with it, and with mixing it can also lead to this poisoning. So that is true. For question number 55, yes, all the three statements are correct. The answer is D. Okay. आप अपने सवाल पूछ सकते हैं विराट. You can just ask a question. Next question is, now this is also a very important question. The cheetah reintroduction is in the news. Okay. The question, please see, is asking Asiatic cheetah last known habitat in India. Okay. What is the last known habitat of cheetah? Okay, Asiatic cheetah. By the way, Asiatic cheetah got extinct in 1952 from India. Right now, Asiatic cheetah is only found in Iran. We are bringing not Asiatic cheetah, we are bringing African cheetah from Namibia and from South Africa. Okay? So the last habitat, known habitat of this is Guru Ghasidas National Park. Okay? And if we compare African cheetah with the Asiatic cheetah, so as you can see from the image also, the African cheetah is bigger in size if we compare it. Okay, that's one thing you need to know. Second thing you also need to know, what is the site? Now tell me, in which part of India are these cheetahs being brought? The African cheetahs are being brought to which part of India? Okay. And Guru Ghasidas National Park is in which state? Two questions for you. I already told you this. Okay. Now, the question is on biodiesel. Okay. Yeah. First of all, the statement asks you how and how is this produced? So it is produced through a biochemical process called as trans-esterification, right? This is true. This is trans and esterification. This is the process which actually creates this biodiesel. Okay. Then animal oils can be used for producing biodiesel and not vegetable oils. Now see, animal oils and vegetable oils both can be used here for the production of biodiesel. So it's not as if that only one particular set category can be used. Okay. So here, question number 57, please understand that both of them can be used. Okay. Third, in India, Jatropha plant seeds are mainly cultivated for biofuel development. I already told you. Jatropha plant seeds and Jatropha in general is used for the manufacture of second generation biofuels. Okay. So yes, this is used for this part. So second you can eliminate, and by the way, you can also eliminate second, because if you can use animal oils, then why cannot you use vegetable oils? Okay. So 2 can be eliminated. By the way, if you eliminate 2, you directly get your answer. 1 and 3. Okay. This is related to biodiesel. Next question. Now in this question there is one important fact that you should know. The question is on National Policy on Biofuels of 2018. This policy talks about, number 1, the different generations of fuel. I've already told you the important generations of fuel. Okay. Now, first of all, it talks about a blending target of ethanol. Okay. So number 1, there is a 20% target. Initially this target was less, but now this target has been increased, right? So here you have a 20% blending of ethanol in petrol. Now again, if they make this diesel, this will be wrong, because the percentage of blend in diesel is very less. So in petrol, yes, it is true, it is 20%, the year is fine. Now this is where the trap lies. Statement number 2. National Biofuel Coordination Committee. This is not under the Ministry of Renew and Renewable, no. This is under the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Okay, statement 2 becomes wrong, automatically you get your answer. But we'll also see. Statement 3, encouraging biofuel production from non-edible oil seeds and cooking oils. Yes, this is also there. In fact, the ambit of this policy was also increased. A lot, many new raw materials were also added. Okay. Okay, many of you have mentioned Kuno as the answer. Yes, Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh, this was there. Yes, Chhattisgarh is the answer for Guru Ghasidas, right? So I was telling you that the raw material, the scope has been increased. In fact, this question also came in the exam. You can have sugarcane juice, sugar beet, sweet sorghum, right? Wheat, broken rice, unfit for consumption. So yes, a lot of these damaged food grains can also be used. Okay, corn, cassava, rotten potatoes, so on and so forth, right? So which is why statement 3 is also correct. Question 58, the answer is C. Okay, 1 and 3. Now with respect to wind energy, we have few points. Now like statement number 1. Number 1 is that India has the 4th highest wind installed capacity in the world. 4th highest. Okay, this is true. Now Tamil Nadu has the largest wind energy potential amongst the states. So it is actually the state of Gujarat which is having the highest wind energy potential, right? So statement 2 becomes wrong. Okay, and this Mupandal wind farms, they're asking you where are these located, right? So these are located basically, okay, in the not in Andhra. This is actually located in Tamil Nadu. So because of this, 2 and 3 is wrong. The question is directly asking you which is incorrect. The answer is 2 and 3. Okay, so here the answer is 2 and 3. All right, moving on. Question number 60. Great Indian bustard. Okay, this is one of those species which is usually, like, this has been asked in the exam earlier as well. Okay, so can you tell me which is the most famous known habitat of Great Indian bustard? Okay, now we'll see that. Collision with the overhead tension wires is one of the causes of Great Indian bustards. Yes, this is true. These are very heavy birds, okay, and they lack a frontal vision. Because of this, they directly collide into these tension wires. Okay, so yes, collision with the overhead wires is one of the causes of their deaths. True, right? Second state, and again please see, is this question is again asking you question number 60. What is incorrect? Okay, so Great Indian bustard, many of you would know, these are not endangered. These are in fact critically endangered. Okay, these are not endangered but critically endangered, right? This is the state bird of Rajasthan. Very good, Naman. Okay, and I was basically referring to Desert National Park. Okay, you will find the very high habitation of Great Indian bustard in Desert National Park, right? Good, Simran. Okay, so this is the part here. Then recently Uran Bachao Yatra was conducted in Madhya Pradesh to save their natural habitat. No, that is not correct. Uran Bachao Yatra happened in Rajasthan. So this was also in the current affairs. So this did not happen in Madhya Pradesh. Because of this, 3 is also wrong. Asking you what is incorrect. 2 and 3 is incorrect. Okay. So these are critically endangered, and Uran Bachao Yatra happened in Rajasthan. All right. With respect to Great Indian bustard. Okay. Moving on. There is a project Rehab. Okay. If you followed the lecture on the elephant whisperers which I had done, I have also spoken about this. Okay. Under this project, bee boxes, okay, are used to prevent animal human conflicts. That is the basic idea. Okay. Here Rehab talks about reducing the man animal conflict. Basically elephants and this man conflict is reduced through bees. Okay, so this is true. This was demonstrated by KVIC, so Khadi and Village Industries Commission, right? This commission is under the Ministry of MSME. Okay, And then last, this project may cause harm to elephants in case of the interaction with the bees. Now, actually, if this would have been true, maybe this project would have not taken place. So, proper care has been taken so that this harm does not happen to elephants and the harm does not also happen to the humans. Okay. So, because of this, for statement 61, 3 is wrong. It does not cause harm. The answer is A, 1 and 2 only. Okay. This is project rehab. Okay, moving forward now. Sky glow. Okay, this is related again to light pollution. So what is sky glow? Sky glow refers to an omnipresent sheet of light across the night sky and in and around the cities. Okay, so that's the first part. Okay, that is true. And see, light pollution is also an important topic when we discuss the movement of birds and the movement of these migratory species. Okay, so this is true. Now, second statement, it occurs only from anthropogenic. Anthropogenic means man-made sources. No, it can also happen from the natural sources. There are natural sources because of which there will be a lot of light which is reflected. Okay, so even these is also there. So not just from anthropogenic sources. Okay, it can cause disruption in circadian rhythm. This is true. Circadian rhythm is the basic, how when you get up, how the hormones and these different cycles are regulated. That is known as the circadian rhythm. Okay, so it's asking you which of the following is correct. Okay, so here the answer is C. 1 and 3 is correct. Reflective light glow. Okay, now which of the following camels, now the question is simple. It is asking you which of the following is found in India. In these kind of questions, just think of the areas in which you can find camels. Okay, think of areas of Gujarat, think of areas of Rajasthan, the desert and semi-arid conditions. Okay, so can you find a double-humped camel in India? Okay, yes, definitely. Kharai camel, yes, you can find it. Okay, this was also asked in one of these exams. Okay, Kharai camel, and also the one-humped camel. So this is also there. So here the answer should be this 1, 2 and 3. All these will be found. Okay, so double-humped camel, Kharai camel, and also the one-humped camel is found in India. So the answer for 63 is D. Moving on. Now, rhododendrons. If you read your NCRT, basically class 7th NCRT, the image of rhododendrons is also mentioned. Okay, so how many of you actually know what are rhododendrons? So these are popular flowering plants, okay, known for their basic flowers here. Okay, so here the question is asking you where are they found? And if you see the options, Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Eastern Himalayas, all these things are mentioned. Okay, so first of all, if I'll show you the image of rhododendrons, these are your rhododendrons. Okay, and these rhododendrons will be then basically found in this hilly regions of Eastern Himalayas. Okay, so rhododendrons are basically these basic species, right? So in the Himachal regions, etc. So you'll find them in the Eastern Himalayas. You can find them in Sikkim, Arunachal, parts of Uttarakhand, etc. You'll find them in other places as well, right? So here the answer is Eastern Himalayas for rhododendrons. Now, Kuno Palpur, we were at least discussing about Kuno Palpur. Now see the question on Kuno Palpur National Park. Okay, so here it is spread across 2 districts of Madhya Pradesh. Again, see the question is, this kind of question has already been asked once. The question was on Desert National Park, that asked you how many districts, etc. it is spread across. Okay, so here number 1, it is spread across 2 districts of Madhya Pradesh. This part is correct. Second, now this part is also important. It is a part of Kathiar Gir dry deciduous forest ecoregion. So the examiner can also ask you, okay, that from which particular part or which particular portion this is getting, or what are the forests are found in the region. Okay, so Kathiar and Gir dry deciduous forest. Third, it derived its name from Kuno River. True, Kuno River, Kuno National Park. Tributary of Betwa. No, this is not correct. It is actually a tributary of Chambal River, right? We have already discussed ghadials, okay, critically endangered, and I also spoke about the Chambal River back then. Okay, so this is there. So here basically 1 is correct, 2 is correct, but 3 is not correct, because the tributary is wrongly mentioned. So eliminate 3 and you get your answer for question number 65. Okay. And again, this was the part I was again emphasizing for you. We know that the cheetahs and the African cheetahs are coming to India. Okay, so we are talking about Kuno Palpur region, which is a part of Kathiawar and Gir dry deciduous forest. And location wise also you guys know that it is found in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, and again remember it is a tributary. The Kuno river is a tributary of Chambal river. All right. Moving forward now, question number 66. Now question number 66 we have to see under Vienna Convention, and by the way again this question is talking about ozone depletion and the protocols related to it. Okay, Vienna Convention came in 1985 followed by Montreal Protocol 1987. Montreal Protocol spoke about the banning of chlorofluorocarbons and replacing them with hydrofluorocarbons. Okay, now the question is asking you, these are the first and the globally first and the only global environment treaties to have universal ratification. Okay, this is true. Second, under the Kigali Amendment, the parties are expected to phase out hydrofluorocarbons completely. No, hydrofluorocarbons are to be reduced by around 85%. They are not going to be totally be removed. So this is wrong. By the way, a question again can come, what is Kigali Amendment related to? So Kigali Amendment is actually an amendment to Montreal Protocol. In Montreal Protocol, what we had done, CFC, chlorofluorocarbons were replaced by HFC, hydrofluorocarbons, but we later found out that the hydrofluorocarbons are actually leading to greenhouse gas, while hydrofluorocarbons are not ozone depleting substances, but they lead to greenhouse gases. Okay, and the greenhouse effect. So because of this and because of this issue, HFCs were to be phased out under the Kigali Agreement. Okay, so this statement 2 is wrong, that it is completely phasing it out. No, around 85% reduction is what is being sought. Okay, and the last Kigali Amendment is a legally binding agreement between the signatory parties with non-compliance measures. This is true. Okay, so you eliminate 2, you get your answer 1 and 3. That Kigali Amendment of 2016 is a legally binding agreement between the signatory parties. Okay, next, Raptor MOU, I think we've already discussed about it. This is related to the Bonn Convention. Okay, so under the Bonn Convention, true. India is a signatory to Raptor MOU. This is also we have done discussed. Okay, and third, it is legally binding agreement. No, this is not legally binding for these birds of prey. Okay, first 2 statements are correct, but yes, this is not legally binding. Because of this becomes wrong. So here the answer becomes for Raptor MOU A, 1 and 2 only. Okay, and again MOU is what? Memorandum of Understanding. Okay, so then in this case MOU here is not legally binding. Okay, Sakshi, you asked this question on light pollution being omnipresent. See, light pollution is a factor. Let's see, primarily it's caused because of human-made activities. So it is present in those cities which have a lot of artificial lights. Okay, you can think of New York, you can think of like Delhi, different, let's say, cities which are very active. So there you will have huge amount of artificial light. Okay, but in other cases, let's say where there is a lot of, let's say, rural population, not enough development has happened, so there you will not have a lot of this lighting, etc. So overall you will not find the same intensity of light pollution everywhere. In very high developed cities you will have a lot of let's say in urban areas a lot of light pollution, but then there will be some areas which will have, let's say, very small components of it. Okay, so that's why you should, like, that is how you should understand it. Okay, fine. So yes, India is a signatory to this Raptor MOU. India has signed it, and this Raptor MOU, this meeting is also supposed to happen in 2023 in Dubai. Okay, one of the recent meets. So this is also something one can be aware about. Okay, now question number 68. Okay, now I expect everybody to answer this question. Okay, CBD. Okay, This was opened for signature at the Earth Summit, Rio de Janeiro, 1992. In these kind of questions, don't think that you know everything. Please read every fact carefully. Earth Summit, true. Place, Rio de Janeiro, true. Year, true. Statement is correct. Second, USA and China are the only UN member states which have not ratified it. This is wrong. It is only United States which is left now, which has not ratified this. Okay, statement 2 becomes wrong. You also get your answer, but let us see. There is Cartagena Protocol and also Nagoya Protocol, which is under CBD. So first of all, you have to see both, whether these both protocols are under CBD or not. The answer is correct. Both these protocols are under CBD. So one is Cartagena, okay, and one is Nagoya. I'll just tell you the keywords which you should know about them. Okay, Cartagena Protocol talks about biosafety of LMOs and GMOs. Biosafety, okay. LMO means living modified organisms, GMO means genetically modified organisms. Okay, that is the ambit of Cartagena Protocol. Okay, so whatever things are happening, genetic modifications, etc., have to be governed under this Cartagena. Nagoya Protocol talks about access and benefit sharing. Okay, it talks about sharing of the indigenous knowledge, sharing the benefits with them, and preventing. You are preventing biopiracy. I've used two terms. One is biosafety of LMO and GMO, and one is biopiracy of preventing the biopiracy. So these are two protocols, very important, and these are under CBD. Okay, so because of this, statement 3 is correct, statement 2 was wrong, so 1 and 3 is correct. Okay, question number 68, 1 and 3. Moving on now, UNEP. Okay, so established now, if you have followed my lectures, you would know UNEP was not established in 1992. In fact, you had a Stockholm conference in 1972. Okay, and on that, based on that, you had UNEP. So UNEP was actually found in 1972. These kind of questions are just to test whether you are aware about these events. And again, one thing, Stockholm conference has completed its 50 years. Again, CBD, or sorry, Project Tiger has also completed 50 years, and CITES has also completed 50 years. Okay, so these anniversary type of themes related questions you can also expect. Okay, so this is wrong. Entirely this is wrong. Now can you tell me where is the headquarter of UNEP located? Okay, it is responsible for coordinating the responses to environmental issues within United Nations. That is true. Okay, by the way, if one is wrong, we already know. You directly get your answer 2 and 3. And 3 is, it is instrumental in establishing IPCC. Okay, so IPCC was formed because of the combined efforts of World Meteorological Organization and UNEP. Right, so again, you now know IPCC also. IPCC is very famous for its assessment reports. Recently, the 6th assessment report is out. Okay, very good, Anisa and Tanuja. The answer is indeed Nairobi. Okay, other people can also participate. Naman also. Okay, good, Nairobi. Okay, so that is question number 69. The answer is B. Okay, now this was the question I think some of you were waiting. This is related to the Amendment Act of 2022. Okay, this will make your doubts also clear. So this amendment seeks to implement the trade related provisions of CITES. True. Okay, I'll also compare both of them. It removes the schedule for vermin species. Vermin species were designated in the Schedule 5 of Wildlife Protection Act earlier. Okay, 1972. But now these have been reduced. Earlier Act 1972 had 6 schedules. Now this has been reduced to 4 schedules. This is true. Okay, now it provides for each state government to designate state management authority which will grant this import-export permits. Now this is not correct. This permission lies with the central government. Okay, so scientific authority can also be created, and also the management authority. Okay, so this power lies with the central government and not with the state government. so as to grant the permissions for import and export of the trade species and trade specimens. Okay, 3 is wrong. Okay, so for question number 70, I think this should be 1 and 3 only. Okay, so we'll go with this part. 70, the answer should be A. Okay. Okay. Wildlife protection, and again I'm telling you, initial schedule, the initial act had this 6 schedules. 5 was vermins, 6 was plants, and 1 to 4 had, from 1 had the highest degree of protection and 4th had lesser degree of protections. Compared to, I'm writing this with another pen so that you can understand. This is 2022. So from 4, this has reduced to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 is degree of protection. 3 is plants. Here plants was 6. And 4 is sites. Okay. So that is one part that you need to understand here. Other than that also, you can also get very good understanding on Wildlife Protection Act. I've already covered this in high yielding terminology session. Okay. Fine. This part also, very easy question. Wildlife Protection Act establishes which bodies? National Board for Wildlife, yes. Central Zoo Authority, yes. Animal Welfare Board of India is actually created under Prevention of Cruelties to Animals Act of 1960. Okay, so this part 3 becomes wrong. Eliminate 3. National Tiger Conservation Authority, we have already seen, yes, this is also getting formed under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So this is also correct. Okay, so question number 71, the answer should be 1, 2 and 4. Now, my question to you, and I think this is a straightforward question. Who is the head of National Board for Wildlife, number 1, and who is the head of NTCA? Please write down this in the comment section. Head of National Board for Wildlife and head for National Tiger Conservation Authority. Okay. Question number 72. Kenkri, Shalmat, Shalmat-De and Oran. Okay. What are these? So these are basically the sacred groves. Okay. So the region is in Rajasthan. Okay. And by the way, if you know Oran Bachao Yatra, in case of Great Indian Bustard, you can also make this point. So this is basically, we are talking about sacred groves. And by the way, these kind of terms have already been asked. Last year, UPSC I had asked you in different names, what are these saline lakes? Okay, so this had already been asked in the exam. Okay, so here we are talking of sacred groves. Question number 72. Okay, and what are these sacred groves basically? So sacred groves are basically, let's say, the trees etc. which are being worshipped by the people. Okay, so there is a very religious and a cultural influence. You are already aware of, let's say, Bishnoi community worshipping the khejri trees. Okay, so Kenkri, Shalmat-De and Oran are these sacred groves. Okay, and by the way, these sacred groves are not covered under any act. They are not given a legal entity as well. Okay, so if you get a question or a statement like sacred groves are covered under Wildlife Protection Act, that would not be correct. Okay, very good. I think yes, Prime Minister heads the National Board for Wildlife and Environment Minister is for NTCA. Yeah, that's correct. Moving forward now, Kenkri, Shalmat-De and Oran, this is the sacred groves. Now, the statement is related to national parks. Okay, now one thing you need to know, national parks have the highest degree of protection, highest degree. Okay, these are declared under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. This is correct, that the national parks are basically designated under this Wildlife Protection Act. Second, no human activity is permitted in the national park under any condition. Now this makes this statement actually difficult. Okay, so because of this actually statement becomes very extreme. So actually there are some cases wherein some of these activities can be provided after taking due permissions. Okay, so that is one thing that you need to know. So no human activity is permitted. So these activities, so there is a very high degree of protection that is given, that is true. But overall, one needs to know that except for the ones which are permitted by Chief Wildlife Warden. Okay, That is one. Then third, Hemis National Park is the largest national park of India, which is located in Ladakh. Question number 73. Okay, so that is true. This is the largest national park which is located. Okay, this is Hemis. This is in Ladakh, and this is also known as the snow leopard capital of the world. Okay, the snow leopard capital of the world is this Hemis National Park. All right. So eliminate statement number 2. You get your answer D, 1 and 3 only. Okay. Next is a very important theme or the concept. This is loss and damage fund. Okay. Loss and damage fund has been created for the first time in COP27. COP27 happened in UNFCCC at Sharm el Sheikh in Egypt. So number one thing is loss and damage fund that you need to know. Question number 74. So this is true. Second, by the way, the question is asking you what is incorrect. Any country can seek compensation from this fund for any climate related losses. Okay. So here, of course, when I'm talking of loss and damage, firstly, let me tell you what is the concept of loss and damage. Is that because of the activities and the historical emissions of the developed countries, the developing countries are facing a lot of issues. Okay, so there can be some irreversible damages to their population, to their ecology, which can happen. To prevent that, they are asking a compensation in the form of a loss and damage fund. Okay, and again, of course, this fund would be available for those let's say vulnerable countries and the most needy countries. So any country can seek compensation. That is not true. Okay, so vulnerable countries, etc., and these middle income countries, etc., they can seek compensation from this fund. Okay, so that is there. The question is asking you incorrect. So for 74, it becomes 2 only is incorrect. Okay, and again, one thing, loss and damage fund was created in COP27, but loss and damage idea came in COP19, and that too in Warsaw Summit. Okay, so even this is there. All right. Next, the term is Karakoram anomaly. Again, this term we had discussed about in the high yielding terminology session. Karakoram region, first of all, map waste, you should know. Anomaly is something that is an exception and which does not follow a proper norm. Okay, so what is going to happen in that case? See, here what is going to happen, generally you know that because of climate change, the glaciers are melting. Okay, in general they are melting. But what has happened in the Karakoram region, that the glaciers, etc., are not getting impacted, okay, because of climate change. In fact, in some cases, there is a growth seen in the glaciers, which is not in tune with what you're seeing in the world. Okay, so Karakoram anomaly is that phenomena in which the glaciers in the Karakoram region, okay, are not getting impacted by climate change. Karakoram region you already know, okay, and the scientists have attributed that this is because of the western disturbances. Okay, that the western disturbances have led to this particular issue. Okay, and this problem, right? So this is the Karakoram anomaly. So you should know that this is not getting impacted because of climate change. The glaciers are not receding. In fact, the glaciers have seen a growth. Okay, and the scientists are saying this is because of the western disturbances that this part is happening. Okay. Next, the question: sulfur in the atmosphere is added from the ocean in the form of dimethyl sulfide. One question is that. So one is how is this let's say sulfur is going to be produced, and second is related to ocean acidification. Okay, now here if you see, that's basically when we talk of planktons. Okay, so planktons also, let's say, they produce a compound, okay, known as this dimethyl sulfide, which produces this sulfur in the atmosphere. So and of course this is produced in the oceans. I'm telling you, this is produced by phytoplanktons. Okay, so maybe some of you did not know this fact, so now you know it. Okay, so you can add it to your notes that phytoplanktons, of course, which are present in the oceans. What are phytoplanktons? These are the small marine microscopic organisms which produce food. Okay, so they produce this dimethyl sulfide, and sulfur is added in the atmosphere in this form. Okay, so one part is this. Second, ocean acidification related point. Okay, so what is happening in ocean acidification? You have more of carbon dioxide. Okay, now when the CO2 is more, the pH will become less, from 7 to 6, from 6 to 5, from 5 to 4. When the pH reduces, that is known as ocean acidification. Why? Because of high carbon dioxide. And because of high carbon dioxide, what happens? More carbonic acid will be formed. Now again, if a lot of acidification will happen, what will happen to plankton population? The phytoplanktons will die. If the planktons die, will they be able to produce these sulfur and dimethyl sulfide? No, they will not be able to produce it. Okay, so because of this, because they will not be able to produce this dimethyl sulfide, etc., what is the problem? Because of that, proper cloud formation, etc., will not happen. Okay, so here the question is asking you, what is going to happen? Okay, so basically what is going to happen? It is saying ocean acidification may lead to increased cloud formation and lower global temperatures. Both are wrong. Ocean acidification will lead to death of planktons, which means less of dimethyl sulfide, which means less of cloud formation. So this is wrong. And it will lead to increased global temperatures. Okay, because if you have more cloud formation, there is more albedo, more reflectivity. But if you have less cloud formation, of course, there will be higher global temperatures. So again, question is asking you what is not correct. Question 76. So statement number 2 is not correct. Did you understand this? This is a more interesting topic, ocean acidification, and how this cloud formation and all these things are related. Okay. Moving forward now. The next question 77 is on biocar or biochar, howsoever you want to say that. So what happens? I'll just tell you the process behind it. So you have a basic feedstock. Feedstock can be this, let's say some bamboo shoots or some different biomass. Then you go to a process of pyrolysis. Pyrolysis means heating the waste or the biomass at increased temperatures, okay, and heating them in the absence of oxygen. Okay, and biochar has a lot of benefits. Okay, it can improve the soil health, more nutrient availability will be there. Okay, biomass energy, biomass related a lot of things can happen, right? And it can also help in sequestration a lot of carbon. So biochar has a lot of benefits. The question is asking what can they do? So can it reduce the acidity of the soil? Yes, they can. Second, it helps to prevent fertilizer runoff and leaching. So even this part is true for question 77. Okay, and then it is produced by direct thermal decomposition of biomass in the absence of oxygen. That is true. They could have even said it is produced through pyrolysis. Okay, so both things are correct. So question number 77, the answer here, all the three statements are correct. The answer is D, 1, 2 and 3. Okay. Now, next is Nagar Van Yojana. 3 statements are given. This is a straightforward question for you. It is launched by, so it is actually launched by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. This is true, that is there. So 1 is wrong. If you eliminate 1, you get your answer. But we'll also see other statements. Varje urban forests in Pune are considered a role model for this scheme. Okay, so that is true. That these are considered as a role model, true. And it is being implemented from funds under the CAMPA. Okay, so we have already discussed what is CAMPA Act of 2016. So yes, the funds for this are actually being, like, you get the funds here from this particular authority. Okay, Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management and Planning Authority. Okay, so that is one part. Okay, then next 79. Okay, then a study indicated this extensive fishing etc. on the Coromandel coast. This can be used. Now this question is about seahorse. In this lecture, we have seen sea cucumber, we have seen sea cow, basically the manatee species, right? If you remember that. We have seen seaweed, and we also know sea grasses. Now we see seahorse. Okay. So there is this tendency that excessive fishing is happening, and these are migrating, seahorses migrating towards Odisha. Now, this is the point in which, first of all, you need to know what is seahorse. So seahorse is of course not a horse. Seahorse is basically a fish, and this is how the seahorse looks like. Okay, so even one question can be based on this particular fact. What is a seahorse? Okay, so these are the tiny fish that are named. Okay, tiny fish that are named for the shape of their head. Okay, so that is correct. That is a seahorse. Okay, they are found in deep ocean water. No, they are actually found in shallow waters, not deep ocean waters. They have unique reproductive habitats, okay, in the sense that the male gives the birth, okay, to a child. Now this is true, and because this is a unique reproductive habitat, this is where a question can become. So number one, many of you can get confused. What is a seahorse? It's a fish found in shallow ocean waters, and then they have unique reproductive habitats wherein the male gives birth to a child. Okay. Next question is on vultures. Okay. So diclofenac, I think most of you have known about this, is banned in India as it is toxic to vultures given in small dosage. Okay. This is true. Diclofenac is basically a pain relieving drug. Okay. What happens? Diclofenac is given to the cattle. When the cattle die off, the vultures feed on them. Vultures are what? Vultures are scavengers. Okay. So because of that, what happens, or what is the main issue? That the death of vultures happened. It impacts the kidneys. Okay, their neck basically droops down and they die. That is there. Ketoprofen and nemosalide drugs are used for treatment of vultures. No. Diclofenac, aceclofenac, nemosalide and ketoprofen are all fatal for vultures. All these four. Diclofenac, ketoprofen, aceclofenac as well as nemosalide. So it cannot be used for the treatment of vultures. So this is wrong. Vulture Conservation Breeding Center, etc. is an initiative of central government, yes, to save all the species of vulture in India. This is true. And by the way, this center is coming up in Pinjore in Haryana. Okay. So this is where this center is going to be. Yes, Naman, carcass scavenging is what they do. Okay. So first of all, is this part Pinjore, Haryana? Okay, I think there's a small change here in statement number 3. Statement number 3, this part, Conservation Center, is actually not a project of central government. It is, I told you, it is Haryana. So actually it's the Haryana government along with an NGO. Okay, that NGO is known as Bombay Natural History Society. Okay, so you please make that change. Okay, it is not the central government, but it is the state government. Okay, which is having this particular part. Okay, so you can just change that. And secondly, in India, just one more thing I want to add here in this part. In India, you find 9 species of vulture. Out of them, 4 are critically endangered. Okay. Yeah, the answer is 1 only then. Yeah, the answer is 1 only, right? So it is not going to save all the species of vulture, but it is going to save the very important species of vultures, right? So just remember that part as well. So just make this small correction, that once Vulture Conservation and Breeding Center is an initiative of the state government, is coming up in this Haryana. So here you have Haryana state government and also this NGO, Bombay Natural History Society, which is coming up for these centers. Okay. So here question number 80, the answer is A. Now the next question. Now in this question, if you actually go for elimination, it's very easy to attempt it, right? Lead, cadmium, mercury are some of the toxic substances which are found in e-waste. Okay, this is more or less very general. But the second statement, you would have read about it, editorials in magazines in different sources. Okay, so more than 90% of the electronic waste management is done by formal sector. Is this true? No, it is not done by the formal sector. It is actually done by the informal sector, which is why it is a problem, right? So 2 is wrong. Okay. Secondly, e-waste management is applicable only to the producer of e-waste. No, the ambit is further increased, not just to producer, okay, but to generator, but to other people. So there are multiple intermediaries in the chain. It is applicable to all of them, not just the producer. Okay, so this is also different. So this is why the answer is only A. Okay, the answer is only A. That is one only, that lead, cadmium and mercury can be found in e-waste. Okay, next question. Question number 82, fire ready formula is best related to. Okay, now this thing you would have read about in current affairs, and specifically environment related current affairs. Now one thing is, who gave this fire ready formula? Second, what is it about? Okay, so fire ready formula is basically like talking about the, not the fire in the urban buildings, but basically it's talking about the incidence of these wildfires and basically the forest fires, right? So this is like basically talking about these urban, or let's not say, let's say this is the forest fires. Now what it talks about, first of all, it is given by UNEP, again United Nations Environment Program, and second thing is that it talks about planning, prevention, preparedness and response and recovery. So overall the idea is that this formula says that 66% should be spent on planning, prevention and preparedness, etc. Okay, whereas 34% should be on response. In other words, maximum money should be spent on the recovery part, planning part, management part. Only 34% should be spent on response. Okay, yes, this is by UNEP. This is the fire ready formula, which simply means if there is a fire, you be ready for it. Okay, if there is adequate investment done, the damaging effect of forest fires can be reduced. That is the basic idea. Question number 82. Okay, next question is on pashmina. Okay, so many of you would be aware about this pashmina shawl. So here we are basically talking about two things. One, what is the goat, okay, from which this shawl is being extracted? Second, what is the community which is rearing it? So two things which are being asked in one question. Okay, so that is an important part here. So number one thing is that the pashmina shawl is made up of shahtush guard hair, which comes from the fleece of Changkhangi goat. Okay, so now this part is wrong. Okay, so shahtush is different. Okay, I think if you have seen my video on Wildlife Crime Conservation Bureau, I've discussed about shahtush. Okay, shahtush is extracted from chiru. Chiru is a Tibetan antelope, and to save them there is an operation soft gold. Okay, so pashmina shawl is first of all not made up of shahtush. Okay, however it does come from this Changkhangi goat. That part is correct. So pashmina wool basically you get from this Changkhangi goat, which is why this is wrong, because of this word shahtush. So which shahtush? Please remember chiru, Tibetan antelope and the operation soft gold. Okay, I hope that would make sense. Second, the Changpa community rear the pashmina goats that yield a fine wool. That is correct. Okay, so two things here. See, shahtush wool is also being used, and a lot of killing happens, and smuggling also happens. So one is that, and other is pashmina. Okay, pashmina, you know that these shawls are very expensive also, and being used and being smuggled also in some cases. So both things are different. So understand both things. One is pashmina shawl, and other is the shahtush. Okay, so answer is asking you what is correct here. For 83, it is second part is correct. 2 only. Okay, next question is asking you which of the following is correct. The question is on black corals. It's a 3-statement question. Okay, so by the way, why this question? Again, in the current affairs, black corals were actually being seen. They had been seen, cited in this Great Barrier Reef, etc. Great Barrier Reef is in Australia, so this part is correct. So these were located here. Now one very important point is that usually you will find black corals in deep waters, but if a statement comes that these are found only in the deep waters, then that is wrong. Okay, this is found both in shallow waters as well as deep waters. Otherwise, our conventional understanding is that corals are found in shallow waters, right? Around 80 meters depth. The reason is that if these are found in shallow waters, this is sunlight. So sunlight is going to come in, okay? And the sunlight is going to be present only in the photic zone and in a small zone, and corals need sunlight, okay? The zooxanthellae in the corals, that is the the food producing species, they have to make this, they need sunlight. So just remember this part, okay? That the in general corals which you see, they will be found in shallow waters, but these black corals, they can grow etc in this shallow also, and it's also in the deep parts, okay? So that is one part. Then black corals feed on small plants, okay? The impression being given that these are herbivores. No, black corals are basically carnivores, okay? So 3 becomes wrong. The answer is here 84, 1 and 2 only, okay? The other people are following so far, okay? The next question is on the conditions, 85. The last 15 questions to go now, okay? I hope you have been following this, you have been noting down the relevant explanations as well. The conditions in the Bay of Bengal regions are not as conducive to coral growth and development as they are in the other parts. So now imagine the Bay of Bengal, okay? So you know in Bay of Bengal, etc., what would happen? So number one, what is the reason behind this particular part? Okay, question number 85. Okay, so we'll see it one by one. Number one, it has low salinity. Now, why would there be low salinity? There can be a lot of fresh water which is getting from a lot of rivers. So maybe because of that. So yes, this is correct. High sedimentation. Again, you know the river Ganga, Brahmaputra. When they come in, they bring a lot of sediments to it. And when a lot of sediments is there, when this has low salinity, this will not be conducive for coral growth. This also we have seen that, for example, for corals to flourish, they need some salinity, okay? Okay, and they would require less of turbidity, less of water temperatures, but all of this is there. So this is true, this is true. There is a very high turbidity, which means water is not very clear in this region. Okay, true. And there are higher water temperatures here, okay? So a lot of warming here happens, and you know this region also is prone to very cyclones. Okay, so this is there. So this is also true. Why high turbidity, or why is the water not clear? Again, you have a lot of sediments, you have a lot of plankton species, etc. So because of all of this, there is turbidity. So you need clear waters for the planktons to survive and grow. So because of this, the reasons are all of them. Because of a combination of all these regions, the Bay of Bengal is not as conducive to coral growth. Question number 85. Okay. Next question is on eco-sensitive zones. Okay. So eco-sensitive zones are also known as ecologically fragile areas. Absolutely true. Now tell me, statement number 2. We've already seen that, okay, at least 2 times now. Eco-sensitive zones are the areas declared under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. No. These are declared under Environment Protection Act of 1986, isn't it? Right? So 2 is wrong. Eco-sensitive zones help in situ conservation. Okay, what is in situ? In situ means the conservation will happen in that place only. Ex situ means the conservation will happen in a other place. Now give me please examples of both in situ and ex situ. What is an example here? Okay. So here in question number 86, this is true that this basically is, of course, let's say if you declare a region, let's say Western Ghats, if this is declared as a eco-sensitive zone, of course it will help in situ, because other human-made interventions, activities will not be allowed here. Okay, so this is true. Answer is 1 and 3 only. Okay, these are eco-sensitive zones. Okay. Now, the next question. So there are different biodiversity heritage sites, and you have to match them. Okay. So in this case, basically speaking, first of all, you need to know how are the biodiversity heritage sites designated. Number 1, these are designated under Biodiversity Act of 2002. Number 1. Second, these are basically designated by the state governments after consulting the local bodies. Okay, So one by one we'll see. And by the way, not just this, there are other biodiversity heritage sites in the news as well. So maybe that is also something that you should be aware about. Okay. So number one is Hogre Khan. Okay, so Hogre Khan is actually not present in Nagaland. This is wrongly given. Okay, it's present in Karnataka. Okay, glory of Allapalli is Maharashtra. This is also wrongly mentioned. Okay, this Chikligad Kanak Durga is also not present in Odisha, but this is basically present in West Bengal. Apart from this, also I think I've also mentioned some of this. Yeah, Hogre Khan is actually present in Karnataka. Okay, and this glory of Allapalli is also there in. This is also the first biodiversity heritage site of Maharashtra. Now I'll tell you, in the current affairs, India's 35th and 36th biodiversity heritage site was also mentioned. Okay, so India's 35th site is Aritapatti, and Aritapatti happens to be Tamil Nadu's first biodiversity heritage site. Okay, and then 36th is Mahendragiri Hills in Odisha. Okay, so here in this case you can be asked these questions. So just make a list of these important biodiversity heritage sites. Okay, and you can be very well, like you can do these questions overall. Okay, so Hogre Khan, glory of Allapalli, Ghadial Rehabilitation Center, and this Chikligad Kanak Durga is something that you need to read about and know about. Question number 87. Okay, question number 88 is interesting. Okay, because we read about palm oil in general. Okay, so question number 88 is talking about Asian Palm Oil Alliance. Okay, now in this question there is one at least fact which you can easily eliminate. Okay, what is that fact? In question number 88 is basically this: second, the largest importer of palm oil definitely is not Sri Lanka, it is India. So you can eliminate 2. Okay, and with respect to palm oil also I've just added few things. Palm oils or these trees are indigenous to tropical and subtropical areas of moist and hot climate conditions. Okay, Asia's 5 major importing countries are India, okay, Pakistan, etc. That is where. And this Asia Palm Oil Alliance was formed in the global summit which happened in Agra. Okay, and India is the largest palm oil importer in Asia. Again, this is something you need to know, followed by China. So it's definitely not Sri Lanka. So 2 you can definitely eliminate. Statement number 2. Okay, so India, this is an association of five of this is true, 5 major oil palm importing countries, and then Solvent Extractors Association of India manages its secretariat. This is also true. So Solvent Extractors Association, whenever you see, think of Asian Palm Oil Alliance. And I've also added these parts that this summit actually happened in Agra, wherein then these 5 major importing countries came up. Okay, this is how this was formed. Okay, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Nepal. Okay, question number 88, the answer is then C, 1 and 3 only. Now question number 89. Okay, the question is on this dark sky reserve, question number 89. Okay, so here this part is correct, that in Kodagu district Karnataka has emerged as South India's Hanle. So what is Hanle? Hanle is actually India's first dark sky reserve. Okay, so both these things are important. Why are we discussing it? Because dark sky location depends on light pollution. Again, I discussed light pollution when I was discussing Bonn Convention and migratory species, right? So it is measured on this Bortle scale. So you measure light pollution on Bortle scale. Just in the same manner, you measure earthquakes through different Richter scale, Mercury scale. You measure sound pollution through in decibels, ozone in Dobson units. So then there is this Bortle scale for dark sky location. Hanle is in Ladakh. Okay, it is India's first dark sky reserve, and Tala Kaveri in Kodagu district Karnataka has emerged South India's Hanle. Okay, so this is also there. So again, question number 89, all the 3 statements are correct. The answer is D, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, this is this dark sky reserve. Okay, we have seen that, wherein we talk about the natural darknesses and an overall area which is not impacted by light pollution in general. Okay, so that is the basic idea, and of course the idea is to save these species, etc., to have a natural environment of sorts. Okay, fine. Now the question is on forest landscape restoration, FLR. Okay, now here if we see this, now this is actually easy to find. Why? Because I have already told you what is Bond challenge. Bond challenge, yes, it talks about 350 million hectares of land, but the year is not 2025, it is 2030. So two things. Bond challenge, number one, Bond challenge is an initiative of IUCN and government of Germany. Secondly, the global target is 350 million hectares. Okay, and India's target is 26 million hectares. By both of them have to be done by 2030. If you knew this, you can directly eliminate statement number 3 and you get your answer, which means the term restoration was coined by IUCN and WWF. Okay, second, it aims to restore the landscape to meet the present needs also and the future needs also, with multiple benefits and land uses. So even this part is correct. The answer is 1 and 2 only. Okay, question number 90, right? Then we have the next question, that is zombie ice related. So what is this zombie ice? So here what happens here, it is a type of ice. Actually this appears to come back to life after being thought to be dead. Okay, why? Because due to the presence of microbes, etc. So let's say you have a normal ice and some part of this, let's say this part is also infested by some microbes, etc., right, in these extreme conditions. So only this is the part, so this will look slightly different. Okay, that's number one. And secondly, this can have bacteria. Okay, it can have protozoa, so it can have some microbes. Okay, so this is the ice, and like it has a, it is of course going to be melting and freezing, etc., that is going to happen here, right? So that is the part related to zombie ice. So even this term can be asked. Okay, I think many of you would be knowing about this part. Okay, what is zombie ice? Okay, yeah, it is giving a zombie like it, yeah, zombie like appearance. Okay, next question is on the BRS triple COPs. Okay, now here just have a look that the theme of these COPs is global agreements for a healthy planet. Now in 2017 UPSC, what it had done, it had actually twisted the themes. Okay, so here also I'll just highlight that the theme of these COPs is different. Okay, so the theme talks about not global agreements, it's an older theme. It talks about accelerating actions. Okay, that is one. Now I'll also tell you what these are. What is BRS? BRS Basel, Rotterdam and Stockholm. Basel talks about hazardous waste. Okay, transboundary movement of hazardous waste is spoken about in the Basel Convention. Rotterdam Convention is hazardous chemicals and pesticides. Stockholm Convention is persistent organic pollutants. Okay, that is true. USA has not ratified any of the conventions under this BRS COP. This is also true. USA has not ratified. Okay, Stockholm Convention plastic waste, this amendment is the sole legally binding international agreement on plastic waste. Okay, so this again is not related to Stockholm, but this plastic waste amendment is related to Basel. Again, why? Because see, Basel talks about hazardous waste. In that you can also include plastic. Stockholm is different. Stockholm talks about persistent organic pollutants. Example of this can be, okay, when we say different, like for example, you can talk about heptachlor, okay, eldrin, dieldrin, so on and so forth. There are many of these persistent. See, these are persistent, which means microbial or this different degradation will not happen on them. Okay, number one. Second, what will also happen here, that these persistent organic pollutants will also be having, these are organic in nature, they will stay for a very long time. In fact, you would have also heard of terms like dirty dozen. So those were initially 12 set of POPs, right? So that was there. So question number 92, the answer is C. Okay, 2 only, because 1 is also wrong, the theme is wrong. The theme talks about accelerating actions, and 4 is not Stockholm, it is actually Basel. Or the statement number 3, sorry. Yeah. Next, again we are talking of the ozone related components here, right? So question number 93, we'll have a look at it. So number 1, a new ozone hole has been detected over the tropics, okay, which appears across all seasons, unlike that of Antarctica, okay, which is visible in the spring. We have also seen why the ozone depletion happens in the spring in case of Antarctica, okay. This is true, right? Second, all season ozone hole is defined as an area of ozone loss larger. Now please make sure you understand this part, that this talks about 25%, okay. So the loss etc is larger than 25%. This is what constitutes a all season ozone hole. So irrespective of whatever the season is going to be, this hole is going to be there, okay. And then you have the third particular part, okay, which talks about this let's say, and by the way I told you how do you measure the ozone depletion, that is Dobson units, okay. So the Dobson units are the ones which are going to be talking about it. Now Vienna Convention, see, it came about in the year 1987, true, but the ratification etc happened far later. You don't have to remember the year, but basically this happened around 2009, okay. Because see, the countries have, when they have to sign, when they have to create laws etc, ratification will take some time. It is not going to happen automatically, okay. So because of this factual thing, this is wrong, 3 is wrong. But most of you are aware about ozone depletion which happens in the Antarctica region, but this thing is also new, the ozone hole which has been detected at the tropics. And what is this all season ozone hole? So this is something new, this is something you can definitely add to your knowledge, okay. Question number 93. Next, opium cultivation, okay. So here basically we are saying cultivation and the processing of this, okay, of opium is highly regulated under, now when they are saying it is highly regulated, we also need to know the act. So the act is Narcotics, Drug and Psychotropic Substances Act. So this is true, right? No private company is allowed for cultivation and processing of opium in India due to this illicit trade and this and part, right? So this is wrong. In fact, if you have read about, so Bajaj Healthcare, okay, by the way, this has now been opened up to the private sector, and Bajaj Healthcare has become the first country to win this particular tender for this cultivation of poppy straws, okay. We are talking of Bajaj Healthcare, okay. So 2 becomes wrong because of this. Third statement, poppy straw can be used to derive alkaloids that are active pharmaceutical ingredients in pain medication and cough syrups, okay. This is true, that these poppy straws etc they can be used to derive these alkaloids, okay. And alkaloids are useful, so these are this term API, active pharmaceutical ingredients. Now one question, you might know that India is the called as pharmacy of the world, okay. Now if India is called as pharmacy of the world, is India also a leader in the API? API means the active pharmaceutical ingredients, okay. So you can just mention that in the comment section. Yes, the answer is correct. For question number 94, the answer is B. But now tell me what is related to API. In API, we are not the leaders. That's the main part. Okay. Most of the API, India imports around 80% from China. So we have a huge import dependency on China. And that is one part. And second part is that because of this huge import dependency, etc., we are now talking of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Okay. Yeah, Simran, you are correct. Okay. Now, second, we are talking about bioplastics now. Okay. So there are few things which you need to know in bioplastics. Again, if it is related to bioplastics, this also becomes important from environment. Okay. It has a mix of both science and tech and environment here. So how are these bioplastics produced? That's the first part. See, bioplastics are basically produced from, let's say, these biological sources. That would be some feedstock, some biomass, some starch containing compound, etc. So first of all, these are produced through this manner. Okay. So number one is that these are produced from sugar, cornstarch, etc. related compounds. So this becomes wrong. Okay. Although in the lab, cyclopropene, etc. is being used. It's not naturally produced. So in the labs, we are producing it through bacteria. So that is another component that was also mentioned in the current affairs. Okay. That we are producing some biofuels from this cyclopropane. Okay. In the labs through this bacteria. Okay. So that is one part. But that is different. But bioplastics, just remember how these are made. Number one. And again, see, plastics, these plastics are not biodegradable because of these long chain of polymer, these let's say polythene, etc. You have a very long chain, and because of the structure of the chains, you are not able to break it down. That is how a plastic is there. But in bioplastics, this is the same arrangement. Let's say if you use a corn or a bio, let's say, mass or feedstock, that you are able to disintegrate. Hence, these are 100% biodegradable in nature. This is the main part, which is why these are getting a lot of popularity. Okay. Second, they do not produce any toxic waste during their production process. Even this is correct. Okay. They do not produce any toxic waste, etc. These are biodegradable in nature. So here the answer is 2 and 3. Question number 95. Now, question number 96. Basically, UN Conference on Human and Environment. Okay. So we have UN this on 1972 is known as the Stockholm Conference. Okay. So see, there are two things that you need to know. Stockholm Conference is known as the UN Conference on Human Environment. That is in 1972. UN Conference on Environment and Development is different. Okay. So you need to know the difference between these two because there are different names. So UN Stockholm Conference is the Conference on Human Environment. This happened in 1972. Okay. Second, groundwater making the invisible visible is the theme of this Stockholm 50 plus 50. We already know 50 years has been done. So it actually talks about the healthy planet and prosperity for all. The theme here for the Stockholm plus 50 meeting is the healthy planet and prosperity for all. Okay. India's first PC conservation program was launched at Gir for Asiatic lion in 1972. Now this part is correct. Again, one question can be made. What is Asiatic lion? Where is it found? So yes, Asiatic lion is endemic to Gir National Park, which means it is only found in that region. Okay. And again, the population of Asiatic lions has increased just like the population of tigers has increased in the recent census. Okay. So here the answer is 3. Question number 96. Okay. So Stockholm plus 50 meeting talks about healthy planet. Okay. And this Stockholm conference is known as the UN Conference on Human Environment. Right. Next question. We are talking about India aims to manufacture 5 million tons of green hydrogen per annum, which means every year, by 2030. Okay, this part is true. You already know how is green hydrogen produced. It is produced through the process of electrolysis. Okay, it's a clean process and you are using renewable energy. We've also discussed blue hydrogen. We've also discussed grey hydrogen in this very test. Okay, nearly all of the hydrogen currently produced in India is grey hydrogen. True. Using natural gases and ammonia. Yes, we have already seen that. Okay. Next, currently most of the demand for hydrogen comes from the chemical industry to produce ammonia, which is also true. That demand of hydrogen, etc., comes from this industry for fertilizers. You already know that ammonia industry, etc., is requiring all these fertilizers, right? So here all the 3 statements are correct. The answer is 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now, again, an important question we have already seen, emissions gap report. 4 more reports for you. Drought in numbers report. Yes, this is by UNCCD. Climate change performance index. This is by German Watch. In case if you want to have a very good understanding, please go back and watch the lecture on the reports and indices. Okay. Global Energy Transition Index is by World Economic Forum. This is correct. Then Living Planet report. This is not by UNEP. This is by WWF. Okay, right? Then, so of course, 2 are right, 2 are wrong. So the answer here for 98 is only 2 pairs. I think many of you would have got this question correct. Right. Now, next question. Signatories to CB, 1 second. Okay, I think question number 99, I just have to see, just give me a second. Okay, so question number 99 you can directly see from your basic notes as well. Question number 9 talks about, let me have a look. Yeah, which is the convention which is talking about abating acidification and eutrophication. Okay, so here question number 99, the answer is C. Okay, the answer is basically Gothenburg Protocol. In this very question, there are other things which are asked. One is Vienna Convention. You already know Vienna Convention is related to ozone depleting substances. Nagoya Protocol related to CBD. Okay, and Cartagena Protocol related to biosafety of LMOs and GMOs. Even through that knowledge, you could have directly attempted this question on Gothenburg Protocol. And one more thing, India is not a signatory to Gothenburg Protocol. That is one more thing that you need to know, that India is not a signatory to the Gothenburg Protocol. All right. Now the last question for the test, question number 100. Okay. So question number 100 basically talks about 3 statements. Signatories to the CBD meet annually to work on a global plan to halt the biodiversity loss. Okay. So here, whether they meet annually or not, so actually this is, they do not meet annually, but they meet in every 2 years. So because of this, the frequency, this becomes wrong. 15 COP to CBD developed, gave a new biodiversity framework, okay, which contains the goals and targets needed to be achieved till 2030. This is true, and I'll also give you a background. Earlier what you had IIT biodiversity targets, 20 targets by 2030. Sorry, 2020. 20 targets had to be achieved by 2020, right? Those were IIT biodiversity targets, right? Now, because 2020 is over, they had to be replaced. So the 15th COP, Kunming Montreal, which happened, it spoke about a global biodiversity framework which contains goals and targets to be achieved by the year 2030, right? Last convention on CBD was the outcome of 1992 Rio Earth Summit. Yes, and even UNFCCC and UNCCD was also an outcome. So that is true. So CBD here is correct, right? So here statement 1 was wrong, but statement 2 and 3 is correct. So answer becomes for question number 100 C. Okay. So we have come to the end of the 100 questions. Before I end, I just again want to bring to your attention about the foundation course which is being launched by SUNYA IAS. And it's a very practically designed course which you can definitely recommend to your juniors. It is available in both online and offline, offline format, wherein the course is very systematically designed. You can also see the details, you can see the quality of the lectures, notes, etc. And then you can decide, right? So that will be very helpful in your preparation for 2024. And again, those of you who want to revise environment in 2 days entirely with me in 8-hour classes, in roughly 15 to 16 hours, we'll be wrapping up entire environment. The dates are 22nd and 23rd April. This is ruthless rapid revision. Okay. So these live classes are available only for 500 members. So in case if you want to join them, so please make sure you do this at the very earliest. Okay. And lastly is this All India GS, this mock test number 4 on 30th April. Exactly on the patterns of UPSC and exact same timings. GS1 from 9:30 to 11:30 and CSAT paper from 2:30 to 4:30. Okay. And before I end, I just want to ask and also thank all the people who have attended the entire session. Okay. So I hope, how did you find the test? I hope you learned a lot from this test. And by the way, even if you made a lot of mistakes, or let's say you did not know many of the context, still the discussion will be very useful. Okay, I think some of you joined in late. You can just go back and see the record, like in the live component in YouTube. You can again watch and re-watch the sections which, let's say you could not get it in the first instance. Okay. Okay, Naman, great. That the confidence has been restored. Okay, thanks to okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. Anisa, Pratiksha, Sakshi, Naman, other people as well. And let's say, even if you were not able to score as much, but this is giving you the exact feel of how the questions will be framed. We also showing you the kind of questions which SUNYA IAS which can be asked. And again, I told you, All India Mock Test 4 is on 30th April. You guys can be present and you can attend that. Okay. So with that said, I now will take your leave. Okay. Hope you had a good time in revising all these components with me. Okay. I'll meet you soon in other high yielding topics and also in the ruthless rapid revision for environment very soon.